Well, hello everybody. It is Sunday. It is 1800 UTC, which means it is time for the Gin and Tonic show, as is the case every Sunday. So, what we do every Sunday is we talk about Islam. Why do we talk about Islam? Who is talking about Islam? And why is there a need to talk about Islam? This is what we're doing. It always works the same way. I provide some definitions, and then I will talk about a video of the week, either misconception or news or topics, and then finally we end with the Hadith of the week. So, who am I to say that I am talking about Islam? Well, number one, I'm a person who has read about Islam, who has learned about Islam, who has studied Islam, who has taken a lot of time to understand what Islam actually is. And that is why I find and feel that I am competent to talk about Islam. It's not how some people, let me just say people, just people on the net, who talk about and use the word atheist without understanding anything about it. So if I look at a racist, at an a philatelist, it's ridiculous. The same way as an a dragonist. So nobody uses these things because nobody identifies a human being as something that they are not. You normally identify human beings as something they are, not what they are not. So I do not have a God belief, and that is it. Now, because I don't have a God belief, I can go and look at gods, and I'm pretty sure that I'm more objective than those people who try and sell their own God. I don't want to do that. If somebody needs a God to get them through the day, well, then by all means do that. Why should I care? It's just that as soon as these beliefs have consequences and I am involved, that's when I start getting, a little bit nervous. And I think, okay, what is it that these people are telling not only me, but my family? What is it that Christians, for example, in the US are telling kids in schools? Ignore evolution. It's creation. God did everything, not evolution. Now, those people are then already at a disadvantage when it comes to anything scientific. They can't go and work in most scientific jobs because science has a very, very definite way and structure and methodology and approach to the processes in science. So if you say right from the beginning, well, cosmology I can't do because I believe that God created everything, and biology I can't do because evolution is the explanation for why we have all the different species, that makes it tough. So somebody like me who does not have these beliefs should not be affected by those who do. And yet I am. I can't just go to the airport and fly off because people are today restricted by the way that we need to go and stand in queues to go and get any kind of what you want to call it, screening to eliminate as best as possible any kind of adverse effects on aeroplanes. Let's call it that. So in order not to damage other humans, I am being restricted. I am somebody who does not want to harm other human beings, at least not physically. I will go and look at the claims, and I will go and beat them down. I will go and expose them, and I will go and ridicule what it is they're saying. So, Vika Lee, no active comments today. What do you mean no active comments today? Sure, you are writing an active comment. So there's active comments. Okay, so I go and look at Islam the way that it doesn't mean that I am trying to sell something else. So if I am objectively discussing Islam, it's like looking at a car where I don't work for one of the car companies. So I try and stay objective, and I try and stay away from judging one thing and saying the other one is better because. I try not to do that because I find all gods pretty ridiculous, and I find all God-based ideologies pretty ridiculous. So that's the way that I look at things. So I try and be objective, and of course I make mistakes, and of course I do have a bias, because I do try and be, stick to the truth, stick to the facts. And yes, after doing it for a couple of years, I suppose I'm pretty harsh sometimes and a bit strident and things like that. So yeah, if you can't handle that, well, then that's it. Or maybe you could, I mean, the idea is that not I preach, that others, that we have a discussion here, that people come and talk to us on live.godless.ch, or come into the hangout.godless.ch. And if you need special treatment, then tell me, please treat me gently, and I will do so. So by all means, come on in and chat, especially if you are a Muslim, because we are talking about Islam 99% of the time anyway. So if you want to, but try and be honest, try and be straight, and try not to bullshit people. Like the guy we had last time, that it's not fun. I mean, just, okay, I'll get to that just now. So we talk about atheists not having a God belief. So if I don't have a belief, in other words, this God belief is absent in my personality, in my life, it doesn't mean that I'm doing anything. So I cannot be actively committing atheism, because an ism has a goal, it has activities. I don't have that. So you can't speak about atheism. But just in the, just to enable a discussion and a dialogue, sure, I'm an atheist. I will identify myself as something that I am not. I'm also an a-dragonist, by the way. I don't believe in dragons. I'm also an ghostist, because I don't believe in ghosts, or a spiritist, because I don't believe in spirits, or a whatever. You get the picture. Now, I'm not an agnostic, because the word agnostic or agnostic is stupid, because nobody really knows whether there is or is not a God. So we don't have the knowledge, we only have the belief. So the whole word agnostic is stupid. We can just, it's obsolete. We don't need it. We can just delete it from our language and get on with it, because we do not have knowledge. So the theist is making the claim, atheist is not. So if a theist is making the claim that there is evidence for the existence of a God, or gods, or whatever, their favorite God, then this theist has to provide the evidence for this claim, not the atheist who, like me, is patiently and passively waiting for this very evidence. So what I'm addressing are claims. So the way that it works is I hear somebody saying something and I say, no, that's not true. And especially if it's like, I don't know who made the universe, and therefore you don't know, and therefore it must be God. No, it doesn't work like that. So, yeah. Now, why do we look at Islam? Well, Islam, if you look at it from the beginning, you get a lot of mumbo jumbo. Depending on what kind of a Muslim you're talking to, you will get very, very different stories, very different, explanations and descriptions of what Islam is. Now, at the end of the day, the Muslim has to fit into the framework of Sharia. This is what dictates the everyday life, the everyday, processes that a Muslim runs through. So everything goes through this worldview and this way of life and this one single filter. So the filter is always the Islamic God. Okay, that's Allah. Allah equals God. Okay, it's just Arabic and English. That's why I don't call this Allah, because we're speaking English here. So I don't call this Qur'an. I call this the Quran, the way that it is in English. So I look at Islam, and I look at the processes, and I look at Sharia, and I look at the goals, and then I say, well, hang on, this is like a political ideology. It gives me all sorts of input regarding commerce, war, finance, foreign affairs, justice, whatever. I mean, it's down to the nitty-gritty, where the Quran prescribes what percentage or what fraction a man or a woman inherits from their father should he die. That's the level of detail that we get here. So this is a political system, an ideology, and the worldview and the way of life. And then in the center is the God, who then says, well, if you adhere to Sharia, if you adhere to everything that I tell you to do, well, he doesn't, Muhammad does, then you can go and get a reward for this when you're dead. I mean, here now on this planet, you have to go and fight for me, and you have to pass a lot of tests and a lot of hardship, and it's no fun. Life is no fun, and you need to pray 5 times a day and do this and this and this and this. Then when you're dead, you get a reward, and that's the way that Islam works. And then because the Quran is so vague and ambiguous and so difficult to understand, this is why we try and help. Because here we have people who have read the Quran, who've looked at all the details, who have looked at primary, secondary, tertiary texts, who have read the commentaries, who've read all sorts of things in and about Islam. And this is why we're here to help, so that anybody can go and learn from others, so that they don't have to go to that level of detail. So if anybody has a question, come on in, live.godless.ch. If you want to come and ask yourself, go to hangout.godless.ch. And if you want to see past shows, go to archive.godless.ch. Now, all this has been provided for by Ike. This is the ad break, because Ike has made all this possible, because it makes it very easy, because you can put live.godless.ch into your favorites, and then if you want to go to the show and you want to just click on this, and you will always arrive at the current show. And so this is very convenient. Okay, let's take a look at, while we're talking about the chat and all that. If you go to live, there's a chat where you can type, ask, comment, do whatever. I'm a recent ex-Muslim. I watched this as a Muslim. So Mr. Anonymous was somebody who came here as a Muslim and has since discovered that it doesn't make so much sense to be a Muslim and has left Islam, like millions do every single year. That's why I made this video where I show that millions are leaving Islam. And this desperate piece of propaganda that you hear, that Islam is the fastest growing religion in the world, that's absolute utter nonsense. So what made you come out? Critical thinking and research. Excellent. And that's exactly what we're trying to do. Okay, this is what I, in my capacity of all the Imam channels, because I have different focuses on the channels, what I'm trying to do. I'm reading the Quran in the father. I'm addressing Dawah in the brother. I'm addressing other claims in the sister. I'm looking at debates and other things in the Sun channel. All I'm trying to do is make people think. Why is it that people are thinking this? Why are they talking like this? What is the reason for this? Here's the facts. Here is the reality. Here's the rationale behind it. Just to make people think. Exactly. And this is the thing. Muslims are taught not to participate in critical thinking. They have this chapter 5, sentence 101. Don't ask if you're afraid of the answers, if they will make you doubt. Doubt is the worst thing you can have. And any Muslim will have doubt as soon as they start thinking. And this is the thing with what happened to converted to Islam. I mean, he suddenly started thinking. The deeper he went into Islam, the more he realized, hang on, there's something wrong here. And that's when he decided, no, this is not for me. And then he left. And then he came up with the reasons why he left. Now people are saying, yeah, he's an arsehole, he's an idiot, he did this, and his wife left him, and all sorts of, but nobody addresses the claims. Nobody addresses the facts. Nobody addresses the things he brings up in the Quran and the Sunnah. They will say, well, he says that, yes, you're allowed to marry, you're allowed to rape female married slaves. Okay, that's what it says in the Quran. So if it says, forbidden to you are all married women, except those whom your right hand possesses. What does that mean? So we all know, except some people who want to be difficult, right hand possession is slaves. Where do slaves come from? Well, from other countries. They were bought, sold, they were, I don't know what. Anyway, they are somehow part of a household where they work without having any rights. So any man can go to any female slave and say, bend over, thank you very much. And he cannot go to jail for that. So he can rape, he can have sex with as many females as he wants. And we'll discuss this about slavery in a bit. And then, now how do you address this? It's in the Quran. It's substantiated in the Sunnah. You find it in the Sirah. So you have it in the commentaries. And now somebody says, well, in the Quran, it also says that you should treat slaves nicely. Well, how can you treat slaves nicely? I mean, a slave is somebody who's brought in, captured from another country, brought into a different country like 1,000 kilometers away, and then put on a market and sold. Or it was, presented as a present or inherited or something. It's a possession, it's an object. So these human beings are not treated as human beings with human rights. They don't have any rights. They are slaves. That's what the word slave means today. Because you don't have the word slave in the Quran, does not mean that they were not slaves. They just had a different expression. Okay, then, hey, Haram Sheikh, what's up? Not much. What do you mean, not much? Yes, we're living in a huge active world. Fan of your vids. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, he's a fan of Haram videos. You can't believe I left Islam. I used to hate you guys for making me have doubts. And this is the whole point, exactly, the doubt. You're not allowed to have doubts. And as soon as you have doubts, well, congratulations, exactly. But now it feels great. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is a little bit of slavery. The video of the week that I have selected is called "Watch American Girl Had No Choice But to Accept Islam. Why? Question mark. Well, this is a silly, deluded, naive, gullible girl who explains that she fell in love with Muhammad because of science, because somebody gave her this bouquet brochure where they explain all the scientific miracles in the Quran. And being a silly, naive, gullible little girl, she believed it. So there's no way that she can be educated either, because, I mean, to believe this bullshit, you need to be remarkably uneducated. And she apparently lives in the US. So I don't know what kind of a school she went to, or she goes to. Now, she says she did this in grade 7 and then in grade 9. Now, come on. You must know biology. You must know some things if you are in grade 9. And then she goes around and says, no, I believe the scientific miracles in the Quran, when there are no scientific miracles in the Quran. I mean, I don't know anything in the Quran that is correct. And then she goes and says, well, that's the reason why I am in love with this great man, Muhammad, who had all these wonderful things and this brilliant knowledge about all these topics that he brought forward in the Surah. Oh, goodness gracious. It's a pity that these people don't all in. Well, I mean, they wouldn't understand, because if you try and talk to them, what can you do? Okay, misconception of the week. I don't know if we've talked about this. Moses in Abrahamic ideology, and there's a. Okay, and actually, I wanted to do this later, but let me do this now quickly. In this here, and now I'm going to share this because this is quite an interesting format they have here. This is a web page, and I'll put, I mean, the video of the week and all these links I'm going to put in the description afterwards into the video description of the show. This tells the story of the Exodus in 3 traditions. In other words, you have the Jewish in the Tanakh, then you have the Quran, and then you have the New Testament, the Bible. And then you see the different versions, or identical versions, or similar versions, right next to each other. And you can compare what the different ideologies say about Moses. And this is brilliant because it shows you right next to each other what the claims are in the various books and how similar Pharaoh, because it says, but Pharaoh said. Now, if Pharaoh says something, which Pharaoh? But it doesn't say Pharaoh X or Pharaoh something. This is like saying, but King said. Well, King is not a name. But the people thought that Pharaoh is a name. They thought that this is the name of each Pharaoh. And there you go. This is then copied into the Quran. And then it says there as well, Pharaoh said, allowing Pharaoh and Haman and the host to experience blah, blah, blah. We sent Moses. Blah, blah. Now, Haman is mentioned in the Quran, but the funny thing is, there is no mention of Haman in any Egyptian, well, can you call it documentation in hieroglyphs, in any kind of documentation, any kind of chiseling or description or depiction. We have lists of the various kings, and we have lists of their grand viziers and their second in charge. We have the building, the architect and then architects and all that names, but there's no Haman. So there's no Haman anywhere in any Egyptian documentation, and this is why then Bouquet invented it and came up with a stele, I can't remember what it was, but it was actually a doorpost. And he says, well, the stela actually contains the name Haman, and it doesn't, because number one, it's a doorpost, and number two, it says something about Chemen Chetep. In other words, this is a prayer to the god Chemen Chetep, and not Haman, because Haman is very different to Chetep, even though the spelling might be similar. But if you go into this, you will see no, it has the one has nothing to do with the other, and you can see that the Quran merely copies what the Jews said first, that Pharaoh and the others and blah, blah, blah. So the whole story of Moses and all that is just simply lifted from the Torah, and all the details have been stripped away. So where the Bible, the Torah still spells out which plagues were sent for how long and in what order, in the Quran it doesn't have this anymore. And in the Torah it will say that it was 600,000 families or men with their families. So we can go and deduce that this was around 2 million people. In the Quran you don't get this level of detail. But it's quite interesting to see all this side by side, to see how all this comes around. Okay, so this is something that I found fascinating, where if you look at all the various, well, what do you want to call it, the ways to look at it, and you look at all the different claims made around Moses, then I don't understand why people can't see that this is just a fairy tale. That's all it is. It's just people thinking about, oh, well, some Israelites came and then this guy led them out. What a hero. It's a fairy tale. And then he takes his stick and it turns into a snake and eats the snakes of the sorcerers of Pharaoh. And then the same stick is used in a magic trick to part the waters. And then all the Pharaoh's men are killed and one is being saved. And it's a fairy tale. So, Haman was Persian. Well, yes and no. If you go into the book of Esther, and then now I'm not going to go into it because this comes from apocryphy, and if you go and you look at all the descriptions, when he was the second in charge and he used to kill people, this is a whole long story about Haman. As the second in charge, and says, there you go. These are the Persian Empire under king. There you have it. Thanks, Sam Sheikh. That's exactly it. Master Arab should come to the Jinn&Tonic show. Would love to have a discussion with him. He's been here a couple of times. This is how we discussed how we were going to do this show together on the interview. But it's true, he doesn't come around anymore. I don't know where he is or why he doesn't. He was the person who helped leave Islam. He's excellent and he comes across as authentic because he is the one who was part of it, and he can bring this across from the viewpoint of somebody who's, been affected by it. I can't because I've never been affected. Topic to discuss. Speak Arabic. There are people who speak. Yeah, Abu is not. Oh, there's nobody in the chat. Is the in the Hangout is the no? But hang on, I changed the link and it should work. Book of Esther is not apocryphal. Okay, Book of Esther not, but the details of what we know about Haman is not actually in the Book of Esther. All the details are in the Apocrypha about this. That's what I wanted to say. I've always okay. How come nobody is in the chat? Not even GP, not Avo, not Raven, nobody. Has anybody tried? Is the link working? Because Google has been fiddling with the links again, but I modified it so it should work. If you enter whatchamacallit, hangout.godless.ch. How to learn for those who don't speak it. Peace from Iraq, exactly. Actually, it's for Iraq. I would love to see peace for Iraq. That should be even more interesting. Okay. I was napping. Oh. Okay. Let's talk a little bit. Okay, last time we had Mr. AZ here, or AZ, and I was not really impressed by him because he says he's a Quranist, but he talks about Muhammad all the time, so there's a good chance that he was just trolling. But he brought up a topic which I think we should revisit, and that is that of slavery, what the Quran calls the possession of the right hand. Oh, there's GP, and so
hello,
the link is working. Okay.
I was napping.
Did you say something? No, I just had some noise. So if we look at what AZ was saying last time, that what the right hands possess is just a special form of a contract for workers. Then I wonder why they didn't put an ad in the paper workers wanted, because putting an ad in the paper slaves wanted is not going to make somebody leave their family in Africa 1,000 kilometers away and then go all the way to some Arabic family or something and work there in the field or something.
Well, it does sound like a contract, doesn't it? What your right hand possesses is something you have a control over by some kind of authority.
Correct. But it's not just another work contract the way that he was insinuating.
Yeah, he was explaining Islam like an apologist might, someone who is a Quranist who has been influenced into a different form of Islam.
Yeah.
Like I think he would be regarded quite simply as an apostate by any other Sunni Muslim.
Oh, they are. Absolutely. No, you're right on that one. But what I find as dishonest is that he makes slavery. Well, the thing, okay, what you need to know about Quran is they don't have the, what do you want to call it, the Muhammad input. They don't have all the justifications, all the, well, I don't want to call them.
They don't even know how many times a day to pray because there isn't that sort of explanation in the Quran.
Exactly, which is why they do something. Okay, they say, for example, it doesn't mention how many times you pray. It says there the morning prayer, the lunch prayer, no, the evening prayer and the prayer in between. So they pray 3 times. It doesn't say anything about the hijab, or it doesn't say anything about women covering themselves, so women don't need to cover themselves. It doesn't say anything about alcohol in the Quran, so they can drink alcohol. So it's a different, exactly what you are saying, it's a different version of Islam. What they do is they go and reinterpret different words into mean totally different things. Like, for example, the thing with the chapter 4, the Anisa, the women, they say that Nisa doesn't actually mean women, it means people, because they need to somehow get around the misogyny in the Quran. So what they're saying is, no, this is just naughty people you need to beat. It's not necessarily your women or your wives or something. No. And what the right hand possesses, those are not slaves. This is just a different kind of contract. So they go and reinterpret and reassign different contents to different words to whitewash it. And that's what Quranists are doing.
Yes, Majid Nawaz says something very interesting about the Quran this week regarding the laws of abrogation and the fact they don't know what was said last.
Yeah, exactly. So you first need to do some mental gymnastics.
Yeah, so They don't know whether the peaceful verses were said last or the violent verses were said last, and they're all having fierce debates about it. And I find that rather odd.
Well, it's the dualism, and it's no. His name was not Ahmed. No, Ahmed. I think he's learned that he's not getting anywhere. He still tries occasionally to get me to comment on him, but after a while you recognize the style and you recognize that he's a stupid idiot, and then I just go and block him because I don't have time for Mr. Ahmed anymore. But I think his voice was different. Now, okay, it's very easy to falsify your voice, but I think that the style was different. I think this is somebody that I bumped into before, who was trying to sound different, and who was trying to sound very nonchalant about the whole thing. So, no, I don't think this was Ahmed. Okay, so the way that Quranists work is they need to, exactly what you're saying, GP, they need to reinterpret because they don't know what all these things are. They don't, I mean, yes, zakat, which is a Jewish word, by the way, is mentioned in the Quran, but how much? To whom? You don't have this. You need Muhammad for that. So you need the Sunnah to explain that it's 2.5% and so on and so on. So all the details are missing, and you need the explanations. Well,
I wonder what would happen if you put all these people, the Quranists, the Sunni, well, no, not just people, just sort of like a spokesman for each part of the different schools, into a closed room and put these questions to them, and they had to answer them honestly. Would there be anybody left alive by the end of the
No.
debate?
No, this is the whole point. They accuse each other of being heretics, and they fight each other. This is, I mean, look at Shias and Sunnis. They are very, very similar. I mean, there's very little that separates them. They kill each other. And then they look at Ahmadiyas. Very little separates them. They kill each other. So, no, definitely not. No, and everybody laughs about Quranists, and Quranists laugh about the others. And I mean, I spent a lot of time with Quranists, all right, because I was fascinated by this idea. So I spent, I think, a year on freeminds.org on their forum and discussing stuff. I mean, in the end, they told me to fuck off. I mean, sorry, they asked me to leave because they couldn't handle this, because I was looking at everything through a fact-based approach. So if anybody, there was an idiot there, maybe this was Ahmed, who came and said, well, he's got this thing that proves God exists because of cosmology and blah, blah, blah. And I showed him he doesn't. And then he went on some physics forum and presented his hypothesis, and they said they laughed him out of the place. But anyway, so after a while, they said to me, no, listen, you're not helping us. We don't need you. Because they're deluding themselves and each other, comforting each other by saying we are the ones that understand God, and we have God, and this is the real God, and this is the only God, the way that it was intended, and only in the Quran, and we don't need Muhammad. But they don't know the basics, so they go and reinterpret everything. So even Abu Lahab in what was it, 111, the whole thing is changed. So there's not some guy who is just being told him and his wife should go to hell, and they're going to have burning necklaces and things like that. So they go and redo the whole Quran, because otherwise it wouldn't work. And this is the same thing what they do with the slavery, what he did. So if you go through the Quran though, and you go and you read except with the, I mean, he said this is like a wife, but it says they cannot have sex except with their wives and the people whom their right hands possess. So they can't have sex except with their wives and their wives, for then they are not to be blamed. Or except before their wives or the wives, for they are surely not blamable. We have made lawful to you your wives, to whom you have given their due compensation. In other words, you paid for them. And those whom your right hand possesses, so we have made lawful to you your wives, which you paid for, and your wives. makes sense. Well, now those are more favored will by no means hand over their provision to those whom they right and to so they may. So those who are more favored will not hand over their provision to their wives so that they may be equal with them. And you see, this is where they get this from, because the wives should not be equal, because they're not equal, because on the Quran it says that if you want to kill somebody, then a male for a male, a slave for a slave, and a woman for a woman. So you have to have slaves. Now they're saying, well, it's a woman, it's a wife, and there's different wife groups because you have the first wife and then you have the other wives, and there is no blame upon women concerning their fathers or their sons or their brothers, sons, sisters, or their women, or those their right hands possess. So there is no blame upon women appearing unveiled in front of themselves. It's so stupid. Then marry only one wife or a captive that your right hand possesses. Then marry only one wife or a wife. It is not allowed for you to take women afterwards, nor that you should change them for other wives, though their beauty be pleasing, except your wives. This is so crazy. And this is how dishonest this guy was. I mean, how can he think that he can get through with saying that what the right hand possesses is just another form of wife? It's so crazy. Okay, what is Zedakah is a Jewish, which is the equivalent to Zadakah. Exactly. So this zakat is a voluntary donation, unlike zakat. Yeah, but the word is very similar, isn't it? Because I was told that the word zakat is not Arabic, but it comes from Hebrew. And I'm like, what made you leave Islam? Why don't you guys come here and talk about it? Because that would be much more interesting, and I'm sure people would love to hear your stories. A lot of things that's not... No, we can't hear you. Are you on a PC or are you on a phone or what? PC. And you have a microphone plugged in, but it's not working. Do you know all the settings? Hang on. Now you just clicked on mute. Now you're unmuted. But there's no noise. But I remember you've been on here. It's such a pity. Is this a PC or a laptop? Well, in other words, is it a laptop which has a built-in? Oh, okay. Because laptops have a built-in one that you can just unplug. Okay, do you know how to get to the settings of a PC? Because maybe you've just clicked on one button and that's all it takes.
When Anniversary Windows came out, it completely buggered up my microphone. It reset the, what would you call it, the device.
Yeah, but it's not the driver. It's just the setting.
No, it completely changed the sound card. It went from the monitor sound card to... I've got a separate sound card in my PC. So rather than pick that, which works, it picked the monitor sound card.
Yeah,
and the microphone stopped working because of it. So
yeah, you need to go to settings.
Look at the advanced settings of your computer for your monitors.
Because this is such an interesting topic. This is exactly what the Jinn&Tonic show is about, to have people like you talking about this. This is the settings get responsiveness.
Well, I learned today that from Majad that the Yemen war is actually another proxy religious war that's going on. It's the Shias versus the Sunnis again.
Yes, I thought everybody knows that.
No, not in the UK. We get extremely little news. You know, there's been more murders there in the war than there has been in Syria. The minimum estimate now is about 10,000.
Yeah, because you have the Houthis. Okay, let's not get into that now. Yeah, it is. There's a lot of involvement. It's the age-old thing between Sunnis and Shias and blah blah blah, killing each other for very little, just for a different interpretation of what it says in the Quran. And it's crazy.
Yeah, but it's funny how it's been going right into our political spectrum, where the West, like the UK, the BBC, won't even mention it because, I don't know, is it because Saudi is our ally? That we're backing Saudi, so we won't portray them as a bad guy?
Yeah, but this has been abandoned now because now all of a sudden you are allowed to criticize the Saudis again.
Well, it only got mentioned because it got leaked out that some people got killed in a wedding. And that became sort of like a taboo subject that the BBC was willing to talk about.
Yeah, but you've had a lot of that. I mean, how many weddings have been crashed in Afghanistan and in Iraq?
Yeah, but they get mentioned because
allowed to celebrate.
Yeah, but they get mentioned because it isn't the Saudi Arabians that are doing the bombing. We get told about Assad bombing civilians, but Assad isn't our ally, therefore it gets on the news.
It's quite sad what the news are doing, really.
It really makes you wonder whether the West should get involved in the political Islam over in the Middle East whatsoever, because our leaders aren't even telling us what's really going on over there and who's fighting who and what we're doing.
No, well, look at Germany, look at Cologne. I mean, the media was not told, and the media was not interested in telling anybody what was really happening there. And I mean, even today, you never know. I mean, who was it who made this example that the guy in some city killed people, and they tried to make his name sound German, even though he wasn't. He had an Arabic name, and then somebody went and changed it just to shift the blame away from Islam.
Even the dead baby that inspired all the migration and Merkel to open up the borders, his real name wasn't Alan. It was spelled the Islamic way. But they changed it to the Christian way just to sort of like give him sort of like a more lovable feature.
Mr. Anonymous, can you join us here? Because, I mean, just from the voice alone, nobody can identify you. Don't you want to come in here and talk about this and explain this? Because everybody is always dying to hear about somebody who, what, asked what, and why, what the process was, and thinking about these things. Do you think that is possible? Or I don't know, maybe you can do it next time. I don't know what the situation is with you. Do you think that's possible? And AJ says, Sheikh, you get a USB mic. Exactly. I think it's a lot easier because then if something happens, you just unplug it, plug it in somewhere else, and then it looks for the drivers, installs itself, and then for away. I've been talking to him, wasn't trying to convert me. He couldn't figure out his way of thinking. He says he's open but very closed. He got scared with my questions and he brought me. Yeah, but this is the first thing they normally do. They will not answer the questions, but they will always. I mean, this is what I've had. I don't know, hundreds of times. This is not exaggerating now, but hundreds of times that people will immediately go and say, "Come with me," or "Wait here. I will get an imam," and
they gang up on you.
And no, it's not that. They don't want to answer because they could make a mistake. So they can't do anything. It's like Jehovah's Witnesses are not allowed to tell you anything out of their own interpretation. So if you ask a Jehovah Witness, can you tell me something positive in the Bible? He will pass and say no. He will not tell you anything positive from the Bible because it has not been identified by the elders. And he is not allowed to do that. And the same is true with Muslims. Muslims are not allowed to go and tell you anything. So they will go and get the imam.
I've often asked Muslims that question online. I've asked them to quote their best verse, their most, shall we say, godly saying, and they'll never do it. And you're saying they're not allowed to.
Exactly.
Well, I always put it down to the fact they couldn't find one.
No, it's not that. It's just that they are scared that they will say something wrong and this is negative points in their tally, that they will have to wait longer to get into heaven.
It's funny how so many of them seem to know that, but they don't know other things.
I'm planning to get a Blue Yeti. Are they really that good? Because I saw you can get them like for $30. And I thought, okay, my microphone is a lot more than that. So why should this get? Why? Because I've heard this name so many times.
They seem to be used by all the YouTube commentators.
Hello?
Yeah, I've heard this. Yeah.
Yeah, basically heard a hello there. Who was it?
I'm here.
Yeah, there you go. What did
Alright,
you do?
I'm
Did
feeling-
you quickly go and buy a mic or what?
It was reinstalling the drivers. The drivers are reinstalled.
Ah, there you go.
It
Well,
should
the
be
voice
better
is
now.
coming over very well. It's
So
quite
is this a USB mic?
5x5.
Yeah, it's a USB mic, yeah.
Okay, that's it. So you just unplug it, plug it, and then the drivers get reinstalled, and then yeah.
Somehow.
So, Mr. Anonymous, come on. Join us here and tell us what is happening. Give us some answers. And this is the most interesting aspect, really, of what happened, because Haram has been talking about as introverted, ex-Muslim. Everybody's been here talking about how they left.
I was fixing my mic, but yeah, so I was talking to him. I don't know if he wants to join. He said he's shy.
See, you had held Islam as an absolute and dismissed the criticism.
Who said that?
It's in the chat. See, you held Islam as an absolute and dismissed the criticism. Then realize there's other ways. No need to really leave Islam. You can elevate Mr. Anonymous.
What?
Then realize that... No, I think what he's saying is you held Islam and you thought it was absolute and you dismissed all the criticism. And then you realize that there are other ways of thinking, other approaches. So there's no need to really leave Islam. It's just a matter of your mind leaving anyway. So you can elevate.
All right, I see. Yeah.
Well, here he is.
Hello.
Mr. Anon.
Hello.
Hi, welcome.
Hi, how's everything doing?
Not bad.
It's going swell. Excellent. Not as good as with you, I suppose. Okay, Mr. Anon, talk to us. What happened to you and when and how? Just give us, I mean, we have, this show can go on for 8 hours, so take your time. Take your time and just tell us about what actually happened.
Well, I'm really nervous right now, but...
Okay.
No, you just relax. Have a little
okay.
sip, take a vodka or something and just relax.
I just gotta fix something. How do I not show my camera?
Your camera is not on.
No, wait, it's on. You just have to press the camera off. Camera next to the mic. There you go. There you go.
Okay, so what do you want me to talk about?
I would start with before, like at the beginning. Like how you met, how you saw, how this channel, how you found us.
Why don't you start at the beginning and say, why were you a Muslim?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So before, I was trying to learn about my religion, and I started watching YouTube videos and researching all this stuff on the internet. And then, as I was looking for this stuff, I came across channels like The Rationalizer, The Masked Arab, and a bunch of other channels I forgot. So when I started watching them, I started having doubts, and then I started looking up quote-unquote refutations, and those convinced me, but didn't really convince me anymore.
Okay, so what is interesting here is you use the catchword refutation. In other words, did you go and enter the word refutation in a search?
I looked up, for example, this argument refuted or something like this. I went on websites like Answer Christianity, Let Me Turn the Tables, and other websites like those, apologist websites.
Okay. Now, that is interesting because I never put refutation or anything like that into my tag, so maybe I should do that.
Yeah, maybe you should.
Interesting. Okay, so I've just learned something. Okay, great. So you were a Muslim. Were you living in a Muslim majority country?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
All right.
Then the family and everything sort of brought you into Islam automatically without you having, any say in this. And then you started thinking about this when you grew up and you started looking, is this really true? And you started looking for refutations and you found them. What did you do with the approach of a refutation when it clashed with what you were taught by imams and family and others? Or friends?
Well, first of all, like I never really learned much about Islam from my parents. It was more about my own research. My parents taught me the basics like the Qur'an, and they never really taught me about Hadith because my family are Shia, so they don't really believe in the Sunni Hadiths like Sahih al-Bukhari or Sahih Muslim and other stuff like that. Yeah.
But you were taught that you had to be afraid of hell.
Oh yeah.
So was that a strong driver?
Well, I don't really fear hell anymore because...
No, I'm talking when you still were.
Did it conflict you? Like when you're searching to think differently?
Oh, yeah. It did.
Like, what did it make you feel? I mean, did it make you stop? Did it make you, come back another time? Did you, like, feel... Or did you manage to get past it? How long did it take?
Well, I didn't really fear all that much, even though I was a Muslim.
All right. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Because usually
you were not afraid of hell when you were a Muslim?
Not all that much.
Okay. But were you in awe of heaven?
Yeah, really. That was what really made me believe. I was watching all these videos about heaven, and I was like, I could get this. I started becoming really religious, and
so it was the reward aspect and not the threat that kept you as in Islam.
I used the threat to threaten.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh, like I used to threaten like others with hell, but not me.
Of course, because you were a good boy and you were going to go to heaven. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what did you understand as heaven? What was heaven to you then? Because obviously you were still young. I mean, you didn't have this concept of virgins and things like that. Yeah.
Well, it was how beautiful heaven was. It was you get to meet up with your friends and it lasts forever, so it never ends. And how wonderful it was.
Okay, so this is like in a fairy tale, and they lived happily ever after.
Exactly.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because even I know you're very skeptical, like us.
Yeah.
Did the thought ever cross your mind that that you have these bad aspects? Well, these bad aspects considered to Islam. Removed, right? Like, jealousy, fear, hate, and all of that.
Yeah.
Does the thought ever go through you that that you're not human anymore, basically? You're something else. You're not you. You're not even yourself. Did that ever go through your... Okay.
Well, I do question everything. Even when I was a Muslim, like I used to think that everything was an illusion and everything was...
Was there anything you questioned about it? About heaven? During the time, like, during when you believe?
Yeah, I questioned a lot of things, but I just brushed them to the side. I was just like, inshallah will just go away.
Mm. Yeah, you use different ways to push them aside, like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't have limits, so the shaitan's tricking me. Yeah. I see what you mean.
But
so what about...
Do you have shaitan in your picture?
What?
Was shaitan something, or Satan something that appeared in your thoughts?
Oh yeah, most of the times when I used to have that, I was like, this is all shaitan. He's trying to misguide me and send me to hell.
Okay, and then all right, then you sort of thought something is wrong here. What was that?
Well, it was mostly... Well, when I was in Iraq, I had a lot of... and that was where I left Islam. It was in Iraq. So back in Iraq, I had a lot of free time, and I had a lot of time to think about all of this and all of the arguments. And I thought, look, the Christian is saying the same thing. He's saying the same thing about his religion. Oh, yeah, like all of these doubts are coming from Satan, and they're trying to misguide me from the Lord Jesus Christ and all that. So, like all other religions say this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
Okay,
like, which one?
Yeah, but Satan does not exist in Judaism, for example, because I've got the question from the chat. Did you really believe in this shaitan the way it is described in the Quran?
At what time though?
Yes, very much. For me, it explained a lot of things. It explained like quote unquote possessions and evil forces and ghosts and all the supernatural occurrences.
Same with me. I believe in the evil eye and all of that. You don't really, when you're a believer, you don't really need the reasoning aspect or rationale behind all of this. You just, if it feels good, if it feels right, and you believe in it, you just go with it, right? Yeah. You don't have to have like proof or reasoning behind it. Just go with it. As stupid as it sounds, that's how it goes. For the religious ones.
Okay,
Yeah.
brilliant. I mean, okay, for me, I cannot understand this. This is why it's fascinating for me to hear this from people who actually went through this. This is what is so fascinating. Okay, then, what was the one, was there a single thing?
Bam, to help you understand, you believe in science, don't you?
No.
Yes.
You don't believe in science?
No.
Not at all?
What do you mean by believe?
No, you can't believe in
You don't believe what the scientists tell you?
Well, you have to define what you mean.
I need to
You examine.
Well, in that case, it's going to make my point a little bit difficult for you to understand what they went through. But if you say believed in science and you believe what the scientists tell you, it's akin to having just a faith that the person you're listening to is telling you the truth. And if they've been told the devil is real, they're going to behave as if the devil is real.
No, I'm a skeptic.
Like you,
I don't believe in
science is
tissues.
real.
I don't believe in microphones. You know, this doesn't work that way.
You don't believe in microphones?
No.
No, you have to define what you mean by belief.
Is that what it comes down to? He's being pedantic.
Yeah, it's kind. It's
No.
he's got a point.
I'm being pedantic when it comes to believe in. You can't believe in facts.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying.
I don't know another word for belief in this context. I'm just saying, when it came to biology, and Richard Dawkins said...
Use accept.
Would you accept what Richard Dawkins said was true?
Yes.
Well, that's what they went through.
It's not, because I can check it.
You haven't studied biology. You don't know everything that Richard Dawkins do. So you've got to have some kind of trust that what Richard Dawkins is telling you is actually true.
No, I don't have that. I don't have that.
You don't have that. So you don't believe in Richard Dawkins. You don't accept what Richard Dawkins tells you is true.
I don't accept anything without a reason. I don't believe anything without a reason. So
their reason went down to they trusted their imam. They trusted their parents.
And you see, I don't understand that. I don't have that. Before I go and trust anybody, I need to check. I go and check. I test it. I believe in data.
Well, I think it's rather abnormal of you, to be honest, because biology-wise, we all trust. No, honestly, we're conditioned to trust our parents. That's why we believed that there was a Santa Claus, because our parents told us, and we trusted our parents to always tell us the truth. That's how youngsters survive.
My parents told me there was a Santa Claus. That's why I don't trust my parents.
Actually, I never believed in Santa Claus. I was told by my friends it's true, but never believed in it. I was actually skeptical of it.
But it's actually how our minds work when we're children. We have to accept that our
I was actually skeptical of Santa Claus.
No, I'm the same as Haram Sheikh at the moment. I never believed the Easter Bunny. I never believed these things. I was always skeptical. I always asked, well, how is it possible that Father Christmas can go and jump down chimney, much smaller than him?
You're abnormal.
No, but that's how I thought as well. That's what I thought as well.
Even at the age of 8 or 7 or whatever.
I just, him flying, nobody's seeing him.
Exactly.
I saw the light through it. The children believe in it, not the adults.
I mean, I was scared at the age of 4 or 5.
When you get older, you stop believing these things, because when you when you're born, you go through this period where your parents aren't really different to you. They're just extensions of you.
Okay, but this is not the point at the moment. I'm more interested in Mr. Anonymous telling us more about what the trigger was. Was there a trigger? Or is it just that being a skeptic just grows and accumulates the doubt inside you? How does that work, the process?
Well, I was
So you go ahead.
Well, I was at first skeptical, so that helped.
But skeptical about what?
About really everything. I always demanded evidence for everything. Like even Islam, like I thought I had a reason and a good reason to believe in Islam. For example, I used to believe in the scientific miracles and.
He's got a point. You know, these young Muslims, they're always talking about how there's proof, there's science for this. They're always trying to find scientific proof, reasoning behind their beliefs.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Okay, but
Yeah.
was this now in the masjid or in the mosque or?
No, it's not the mosque anyway. It's the
No.
internet.
Yeah, it's the internet.
Okay, you were told that there is something scientific about Islam, and you believed it. Or
No,
you
I
didn't
actually.
believe it?
No, I actually researched it, but then I started
Basically-
researching it even more and hearing what the other side has to say, and
It's basically confirmation bias.
yeah.
But the stronger it seems to be on your side, the better you'll accept it. The more chances,
Yeah.
I'll say. And then you keep that and spread it around, and it's a lie that's told so much, and then it's accepted as fact or truth. Now,
Exactly.
they're so easily taken down by people like us. Well, let me just...
You're still doing something funny with your
Sorry, my microphone just...
microphone.
No, I can see the levels. It goes down from 100 to 98.
Yeah,
And I've
because
got a fever
you're
right
on
now as well.
100, it sounds like you're talking through a watering can or something, and then it suddenly goes down. Then the voice is normal, but then the volume is low.
I need to get a better mic. Alright. I don't know if I should
Okay.
stop talking or...
No, it's fine. Come on, we can understand you, unless you're coughing and sneezing and wheezing and doing.
Sorry.
Was there? I'm still interested in this one. Was there something that triggered it, or was it just an accumulation of doubt?
It was really an accumulation of doubts. When I first became an agnostic Muslim, like, and then
As an agnostic. As soon as you have doubt, there's no agnostic. I mean, you can't have knowledge about something.
Well-
So when your belief is reduced, let's say your belief level is reduced.
You guys hear me?
Yes?
Oh, hi. Okay,
Hi.
just continue talking.
Okay. Anon, what
Hi.
is there something that you can pinpoint?
oh, you're
Does it
talking
not
to me?
that? Oh.
I don't know. It was really just critical thinking. That was like I pretended. For example, like you know how they say Muhammad he married a 9-year-old and he married Sophia and all these. Like I pretended like if I was standing before a judge and he said, okay, Muhammad is accused of this and this and this. Like, am I really of all of these and just like if I was his lawyer?
Brilliant. I love that. Okay. That's a very, very nice approach. I need to remember that. I hope I don't need to pay you this, that you have copyright for this, but this is a brilliant approach. Would you defend Muhammad? This is excellent. Yeah. Okay. And then you say this accumulated over time. And then as you started gathering more and more skeptic anti-thoughts, then at some stage you decided, okay, this is not for me anymore, or what?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Brilliant. Okay, and then how long did it take you from going, no, I don't believe it, until you said openly, guys, I don't believe it? And what was the impact on your immediate environment, like friends and family?
Oh, I haven't really told them. I don't plan to tell them.
Okay. So what do they think? But do you still go to the mosque?
Yeah, I just came back actually.
Were you forced to, or was it?
From Sun.
So
It
nobody
was from.
gets any suspicion.
It was actually Sunday school. Yeah.
Christian Sunday school.
No, it was
Can I ask,
Muslim.
Canon, where you live?
Oh, that's a bit risky.
I don't think personal questions should be asked here. I think.
Yeah.
Oh no, are you like in
It's
a
okay,
Muslim
okay.
country? Like in a Muslim country or in a? That's what I meant.
Not currently. Right now I'm in the U.S., but I came back from Iraq a couple of weeks ago.
Oh yeah, because I can understand. I understand if you go to pray, because I'm in a Muslim country and I do go with my father to pray like every Friday. But you know, I just do it because he tells me to go. You know.
Are you from Saudi Arabia?
No, from Kuwait.
Oh, you speak Arabic?
Yeah.
Jinn&Tonic.
تمام الحمد لله.
Alhamdulillah.
Nice.
So you still have this mannerism of saying Alhamdulillah, unbelievable.
Oh yeah, shit.
Yeah, it's like it sticks with you. Like in Iraq when we talk, we always say wallah. We always say wallah, which means I swear by Allah. I swear by Allah. I swear by Allah.
I do that
It
as well.
sticks. It never leaves.
Old habits die hard.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose it's the same as if you have an orgasm, you say, "Oh my God," you know, which is not really.
That's proof of God. That's proof of God, by the way. That's your fitrah. That's your fitrah.
Yeah, exactly.
I just want to say, stop Swami. Like for me, the reason actually you're the one who made me like realize that this is all bullshit. But for me, because before I saw your videos, I took everything so seriously. Like when I saw you talking about the Quran, and then
Be right back.
it's like it wasn't holy anymore, you know, because you're dissecting it. Even if I read the Quran or something, it was like I don't know, like it felt like a holy book. But when you're reading it in English, it just sounded all so stupid.
It gives you a different perspective.
Yeah. And then after that, like it all went downhill, and I just said, "Fuck this shit."
So it's like reading it like a normal book. This is what sort of demasks it. It takes away this putting it on a pedestal. That's exactly what I'm trying to do. Take it away. Remove it from the pedestal that people put it on.
Yeah, and actually, I've managed to from your videos, I've managed to convert my brother as well. I guess not convert, but you know, leave. You make him leave, you know, as well.
You're evil.
We're all evil.
But okay, but this is interesting. What exactly did you say? What did you tell your? Okay, what was the condition of your brother? Was he like?
Okay, no. Listen, for my brother, it was actually easier because this is embarrassing. But when I told him, he actually cried to me, and he said like he didn't believe in this like from a really long time, and he thought that he was crazy, that he was the only one. And stuff. So yeah, so he was really happy. So right now, like only me and my brother, like think this way. I guess he's the only one that I know that's like doesn't believe in religion like me. You know, in my country, I guess. Okay, I don't know anyone else.
Yeah, but when he told you that he didn't believe this, like even longer than you, how did that make you feel? That he had to keep this in? Not even you, the brother, was allowed to know this.
And it really made me really angry, and it made me hate religion even more. Like I'm trying to, like for example, if I see some people like my mother, honestly, I can't see her living without religion because she had so much stuff like happen to her in her life, and religion means a lot to her, you know. But and it fucked me up really bad when I saw my brother talk to me like that and stuff. And I guess you get along, I guess. But yeah, I don't know.
But then if you thought that you were religious, how did it make you feel when you realized, no, I'm not?
It made me feel stupid. Like, honestly, even till now, like the hadith about you can't bring a dog to your house because angels don't enter your house. And like, I can't believe how I could believe I can't believe what I used to believe, you know? It all feels so stupid, I swear.
But do you also have this feeling that this expression that I've heard so many times, that you feel relieved and free?
Not at first, but now, yeah, a lot more relieved now, because I don't have to think
Good.
about like.
What about Haram Sheikh? You also?
Oh yes, every day, even right now. I'm so thankful. I don't know to what, but obviously to my own rational thinking mind, to not be as stupid as the rest.
Yeah, but at the moment you're sick.
Oh, I'm sick. Yes. I can't help that. That's why I'm not recording anything.
Well, I
Okay.
wouldn't really say stupid. I would just say brainwashed.
Yeah.
What Vico Lee is just saying in the chat, and this is exactly true. This is the emperor's nakedness, the emperor's clothes, which somebody is now actually
pretending to be wise.
courageous enough to name it, to raise their voice and say, "Yeah, but hang on, he's naked." And this is exactly this feeling. This is
behead those who insult the emperor.
who called the emperor naked.
That's it.
Westworld TV. What is Westworld? It's Westworld. Wasn't this Joel Brenner guy in the 70s or 60s or something? Because I remember we used to get AFITS, American Forces Radio and TV Services. Wow, I still know this. As a child, this is the only thing that we were allowed to watch. And I remember these old series with Joel Brenner and Batman and the old series. I'm talking now really, really old, because this was the only thing that we're allowed to broadcast.
Stop solving. I want to ask you a question. Do you think that if they allow the study of Quran like academically, like the Bible, do you think like a lot more people will leave the religion or like think twice about it or something?
Absolutely. I think this is why so many people at the moment are leaving. I have so many colleagues who are saying, you don't believe the Quran, but you know what the Quran says. I said, yes. And if I go to the culture center, they know, why are you a non-believer and why do you know the Quran? And I said, well, because I take it as literature. And then they say, well, what do you see as literature? And I say, well, it says this and this. The first sentence in the Quran, this is the beginning of the Quran. What is the very, very first sentence? What God wants you to know on this planet. ALM. That's how the Quran says. The first sentence in the Quran is ALM. And if I look at the Quran and I look at this, I think, why would a God send me an instruction manual which starts with the words ALM? That doesn't make sense. And this is why if anybody now goes exactly what you are saying, studies it on an intellectual basis, then it's different, because then he says, why would it say ALM? You don't go, well, Alif Lam Mim, and this is what the book says. And then you concentrate only on, this is what the book says, this is what it means, okay. And you forget about the ALM because you are taught to read over it. The same way, the contradictions and all this. So yes, absolutely. If anybody starts reading it, they will lose it.
Do you think it will ever happen? I mean,
sorry, Haram's trying. What was it?
Do you think it will ever happen that they will like let it? People will start studying academically, like in the university or something?
Okay, I'm going to quickly answer this, and then Haram can go. Then I can go and get it here. I think it's already happened, because with the internet, you can't stop it. It's people are now looking at the Quran in a way that was never really possible, because it was always in ancient Arabic. It was kept a secret, just like the Bible was kept in Latin.
And you sing it. It's like you sing it. You don't read it. You like a parrot. You just sing it. You don't.
Exactly.
You know?
And now, with the internet, you have the possibility to actually read it, and you have exactly what you said, the refutations. And you have people like me who are looking at the Quran as a book, and therefore looking at it in a totally different way, and therefore it becomes literature. And then when the Bible became literature, millions and billions left. It was unheard of 1,000 years ago that you were not a believer. And the same thing in the Muslim majority countries. There it's happening too. So absolutely, yes.
Hey, Imam brother, do you remember our debate we had on YouTube?
Which one?
It was in the comment section.
On what?
It was on the like I'm a Muslim critique or whatever. It was.
The thing is, I have like 20 a day, so I don't remember all of them. I'm sorry.
I think I remember you
Oh,
debating me on my video. Do you remember that one?
no, I don't think so. Well, I left a comment.
Yeah, on the 100,000 views one. Yeah, I remember someone anonymous, and they have that. I don't know. Yeah, you challenged me on slavery.
Oh no, that
right.
that wasn't me.
Oh, yeah, what I was saying was relevant to what the Imam brother was saying.
But Guy Fawkes is Ahmad.
Yeah. You know, it's
yeah, I know him.
Oh yeah, I think you're saying Alif Lam Mim, this is the book, right? This is a clear book. The funny part is, it's not a book, is it? That's where the awkward part comes in. It's not a book, is it? Or am I missing something?
What is a book? What?
Well, it wasn't a book yet.
Yeah, like it says Alif Lam Mim, this is a clear book. Something. I can't exactly remember it. Surah Baqarah, right?
A guidance for those who believe.
This is the book about which there is no doubt. A guidance for those conscious of Allah.
Exactly, 2-1.
Yeah, but it's not a book, is it?
Well,
it's oral recitation or oral memory. Like that's where the awkward part comes in. Like, wait a minute, it's not a book, and it's meant to be preserved forever.
Okay. All right, I'm taking, I don't know what you want. I call it a book. I call the Quran a book, even though the Quran is the recitation.
It didn't really start as a book, did it, in the beginning?
You need to wriggle your microphone cable.
I think.
Oh, sorry, yeah. It wasn't really It wasn't really a book, was it, in the beginning? It was more of an oral recitation, oral memory.
Okay, in the beginning, we don't know the beginning. Have you heard?
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Have you heard the 3 different groups on the Quran? Do you know them?
No.
Okay, you have the traditionalists who go and say you have the fairy tale of the guy in the cave, and the angel goes ikra, and so on. And then you have the group, the realists, who will say we don't know where the Quran actually came from because we know that there are some issues with the way that Mecca is described in the Sunnah, and we don't really know who received what in what order, who sorted the sentences in what way. And then you have the revisionists, and the revisionists are those who say, no, we only accept what actually exists, what can be demonstrated in reality, what fits in the Quran, what fits into Islam. So those are 3 different groups.
Yasir Qadir is that one. It's the one.
The second one. He goes into the realists.
Okay.
He goes and says, we do not know whether it was actually preserved. We cannot know for 100% because we have 20 different versions or 30 or whatever. Now Jay Smith is running around with his 20.
Isn't that very controversial thing to say?
Well, no, because it represents the facts.
In their society.
It is, but it represents the facts. And he is very careful. He is very diplomatic in saying maybe the traditional way of accepting blindly what is said, the way that it is currently being interpreted, is not the right way. So, very diplomatic.
Yeah, that's
Can I give you the 4th group then, Spam, seeing you've divided them into 3?
Okay.
The 4th group are a group of scientists, Westerners, who are into linguistics and writing. And they're saying the way that the Arab literature started, the actual way they write things, Islam was originally an oral tradition. So you would have Muhammad teaching every single member of his group how to remember what to say. Then you got the writing put down as a prompt. It wasn't there to teach them the words. It was to prompt them, to remind them if they got a little bit stuck, what to say next. And then you got Uthman, who started to change the language itself, so you started having consonants. So you had to have something more precise. And that's when it started becoming a book.
Okay, but that's still the first version, isn't it? Those are the traditionalists.
It could be, but it went from an oral tradition
Okay, I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
to an actual book where you didn't need to remember it.
Okay, that is exactly. And this is the traditional view where they actually use pieces of bone and pieces of skin and things like that to write on, just as a prompt, where they put the first word of each sentence just to give the people a hint. This is what the next sentence is about. Yeah.
Can I also disagree with you on something else about...
well, you always do anyway, so
yeah, I'm just very sorry. So something I heard from Jay Smith, which I'll say at the end.
Sure.
Jay, although people like yourself are being critical of the book and you're pointing out the flaws in today's society, how it doesn't match up to reality, you've also got the actual people who study the academic side of it, the actual in-depth history and wording and ancient Arabic, and it's them who will give you the information to give to the internet. It's a two-part process. If you didn't have people like Klingshaw who study it really in depth and then provide you with interesting tidbits, you would only...
What happened to Klingshaw?
I think he decided not to really get involved into the internet side because it might hurt his academic career. You can't really study Islam if you're on the bad side of the Arabs. And if he'd go around saying things that are controversial, he's going to get on the bad side of some imam who's going to have influence over somebody who runs a university. That's my theory. I don't know.
No, that's true. That is exactly what it is.
Anyway, I wanted to say, so Jay Smith has, I heard on one of his videos he puts out about the, in Hyde Park, he says there's a new publication going to come out recently.
It's not new.
A lot of Muslims. It's a new research about the way that people, the temples are pointing not towards Mecca.
That's ancient old.
What?
Oh yeah, I heard that theory from this Quranist.
Yeah, it said Jay Smith in his video was going on about that there's some guy who's going to release this paper this month, end of this month, or beginning of next month.
Yeah, I saw the trailer.
Okay, I think this is old stuff. At least I know it, at least for 4 or 5 years about this. But the thing with the language, just to get back to this, the language did not exist at that time. Because you need to go back to the Nabateans. Now, the Nabateans were using a kind of Aramaic. And the Aramaic that they were using is the precursor to the Arabic that was later being used. Because
you mean the written language, you mean?
Not the written. No. The Arabic itself has developed from this old combination of Aramaic, Syriac, which then moved into the Syriac, and then moved into the Arabic in the south. So the north moved into Syriac, and the south moved into Arabic. And the precursor of the written language is also based on this Aramaic that was then transformed into Arabic. And therefore, you couldn't have had the Quran as a book in the 7th century because the language was not developed yet.
Yeah, and you know the mission da'wah idiots. You know they are lying when they say that the Quran has been preserved orally, because different people read it like different. Like I know my Libyan friend here, he says Maliki Yawmiddin, and here we say Maliki Yawmiddin. You know.
Okay,
so even orally, it's not like preserved.
Yeah, but this is just the 7 different pronunciations. I'm talking about real differences. I'm talking about Surah 37. I'm talking about Surah 37:101, which in the Tashkent version says they were not Muslims, and in the Cairo version says they were Muslims. So they are.
But what about the Birmingham Quran and
the Birmingham Quran is something?
And the Imam Quran. It was just that were written approximately in the 7th century.
Okay. The Birmingham fragment has an error margin which puts it well into the 8th century.
Yeah, but that's 8th century to 7th century. It has an error margin. From what I remember of the oldest one, which is the Birmingham manuscripts, They can be dated to approximately around the lifetime of Muhammad, which would be about 650, which is 7th century, and not the 8th century, which would be 900 AD. That's a big gap. Stop. I know that the one that's before that, the one that was found in I think it was Yemen, that one dates to around about the time of Ali. They think it was part of Ali's Qur'an, and that would date to around about the 700s. Okay. So we got one Qur'an that's about 650, maybe.
No, we don't have
another Qur'an scrap that's around about 700. But the point is, these being old scripts, they would have been written. They would have become some kind of written language, which the Muslims of that time could have used as a prompt to remind them of the oral tradition.
Okay.
And you're saying no, they couldn't do this because they didn't have a language. They didn't have a written language.
That's not what I said.
It's what it sounded like.
That's not what I said. Don't take what it sounds like. Take what it says. Okay.
Well, what you said sounded very much like you saying they couldn't have had a Quran because they didn't have a written language.
There is no Quran from that date. This is correct. Because they're all fragments.
No, I didn't say that. I said they couldn't have a Quran because they didn't have a written language. It's what I thought you actually said.
I said there is no Quran.
They did have a written language, but it wasn't a very well-developed language. It was more of a phonetic type of language, a written phonetic language.
Not only that, the second thing is that there was no uniform language. The Quran is the one that codified Arabic. Before there was no Arabic. Before there were different dialects in different regions.
Well, that's why you got the
GP, let me just finish. GP, you made a point. I'll let you speak. Can I now explain what it is that I said?
Guys.
I'm trying to explain that there is no Quran that we have which is before the 9th century, or maybe even the 10th, we don't know. We have fragments, we have manuscripts, we have bits and pieces even from before the 7th century, out of the 6th century, when Muhammad did not even exist. These are Quranic sentences. They are not like literally sentences from the Quran. It's just that the theme that we find later in the Quran is found on these fragments. So there were fragments that were written down using some sort of form of a language which was before the Kufic script that was being utilized at a later date when it became the Arabic. Before that, they were using different versions of the Nabatean language, the way that they were writing. But this is not Arabic.
But can I put a magnifying glass on what you said there?
Sure.
The parts that I know that are pre-Mohammedan are some of the apocryphal Christian stories. What the Quran we should be really investigating are the words which are alleged to have been spoken by Muhammad.
I mean,
the story about the goat, it doesn't. The story about the cow, it doesn't matter if it was written in 400 AD or 200 AD. It really has absolutely nothing to do with the religion. I couldn't think of any Muslim who could try and pick up that chapter and say, this is some kind of a story to tell us to forgive our neighbor, or for example. But what is alleged to have been spoken by Muhammad, that would have come, if it's proven that came before Muhammad was born, that would prove the Quran is complete and utter fabrication from start to finish. But as to my knowledge, that has never been proved by any academic whatsoever. The academics have all said the parts that come pre-Muhammad are some of the poetry, some of the sayings, and some of the stories, but none of his actual words like you would find in chapter 9. In chapter 9, that is said to have been said by Muhammad. Do you disagree with that statement?
Yes.
So, which words of Muhammad predate Muhammad then? Please give me an example.
I can't give you an example. I don't remember everything offhand that I have learned in the last, I don't know how many years. I know that there are fragments which predate Muhammad, where Muhammad, I'm taking theoretically, okay? I'm never saying that Muhammad existed because there's no evidence for the existence of Muhammad. So I'm taking this as part of the fairy tale. Now, the second chapter, the chapter of the cow, Al-Baqarah, is not something that was originally in the Quran. This was also added later on and then amended to fit in with the rest of the story. So there are different portions of the Quran that were written at different times by different people, which accounts for the different styles, the different writing contents, and why, for example, Moses is the entire story is copied like, I don't know, 38 times or something. And there are a lot of academics who have also come to this conclusion. I'm not sucking this out of my thumb. I mean, I can only learn from others. I cannot read ancient Arabic. I cannot go and look at the ancient Arabic, and I cannot go and say, this is the way that it is. I have to rely on the information that people tell me, this word, this means that and that, because it's ancient Arabic. And that is how I put the pieces together, and that is how I then go and say, these are the different components that I know of. They do not make sense in the way that they are being presented here. So what is the alternative? Then I go and I check what the alternative is, and I find out, if I take this, if I take that, then we go and then it makes sense. And this is from all the bits and pieces. I told you, I have developed my own hypothesis, which is because, I don't know, I'm not an academic, I'm not a scholar, I'm not somebody, I'm just somebody who has a brain. And I went and put all these different pieces together, and I assembled them and then said, okay, now all the pieces of the puzzle fit together. There are still some empty slots, but the pieces that we have now fit together, which they don't do in any other way. That's me. That's it.
Guys?
I have no need to reply. I've got to stop spamming to clarify what he was meaning.
That's it, yeah. Okay, this is why there are different pieces of different fragments using different language, coming from different eras, from different time periods, which were then being put together and then put together as the Quran, the way that we know it, which was modified and changed over the centuries until in 1924, well, 1918 actually, a commission decided this is the contents of the Quran, this is how it's going to be put out, and it was printed in 1924 for the first time. Boom, and that's it. And even today, there are different versions of the Quran in different countries. There was one printed in Kuwait, which where 380,000 had to be re-soaked or whatever they did with them. I don't know if they burnt them or if they reused the paper, because they found a mistake in the Quran. So that's what.
This is what some Shias believe. They believe that the original Quran was destroyed by Uthman, and the real Quran is with the Mahdi.
In Khartoum, in Sudan somewhere.
You mean the real Quran being the one that was given to one of the wives of Muhammad by Abu Bakr?
No, I think they believe that
the Mahdi is like the guy that that will come to save us all or something.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, the Mahdi is the ones who are going to return, but the original Quran would have been the one that Abu Bakr commissioned.
But they don't believe.
And apparently
they don't trust Abu Bakr.
Oh, no, they don't trust him. But I remember from my thing that Muhammad, during his lifetime, is supposed to have had 7 different Qurans, one for each of his different dialects of his followers. And it was Abu Bakr who asked for these to be sort of like brought together and then given for safety to one of his wives. That particular version fell into the hands of Ali, but when it was decided to write Uthman's version, Ali refused to have it be read in fear that it would be destroyed or corrupted. So Uthman composed his own version of the scraps of Quran he could get hold of and destroyed all the bits he didn't like that didn't fit his narrative or his scribe's narratives. And that version of the Quran is what's been filtering and changing to what we got now in 1924's edition of the Quran.
Yeah, that is the traditionalist view, exactly.
I'm inclined not to disagree with the traditionalist view. I can quite easily see how something political like that can happen, that somebody is sort of like trying to control the narrative. If it wasn't Abu Bakr, it was Uthman. If it wasn't Uthman, it would be another caliph. And somebody had a copy and they ran away with it. You know, it sounds so EastEnders, but so typically human.
The fate of humanity on a bunch of idiots.
Well, the same thing happened with Christianity. In 300 AD, 350, it was then they decided they needed to have a Bible, because people were forgetting what the actual message from Jesus was supposed to be. So for people say it was Constantine who made the Bible, it wasn't. He came about 100 years later. The bishops were all arguing about what books, what letters, what manuscripts should all go into the Bible, and it was Constantine who wanted to bond a religion to his empire, who finally said, okay, I'll give you official sanction, I'll be your patron and pay for you to spend time doing this job. And quite a few hundred years later, they finally come to a conclusion. This book will go in and that book won't. And that's how the Bible was formed. Or the New Testament, rather, that we know today.
And I think something similar happened with the Quran.
Yeah. It's just the way that human beings seem to behave. If you look at the Old Testament, you'll see a lot of people like Aaron Ra say, it's a composite of this mythology, it's a composite of that nationality and their life stories, all molded into this great big humongous storybook that's supposed to tell you the history of the universe, life and everything. The answer isn't 42, it's God and Moses and Abraham and all that sort of rubbish.
Alassa is back. Welcome. Alassa, do you have your favorite pet theory of what regarding the existence of the Quran, how everything came about? Oh, he doesn't have a microphone again.
Switzerland's in the news for something, isn't it, this week regarding Islam?
Who is?
Switzerland is in the news for something about this Quran, Islam. Can't remember what it is though.
Okay, should we continue along the lines here, or should we change topics and go through some news that I collected, or what should we do? Okay, there you go.
I think we should change topics.
Yeah. The flow going.
Okay, then you're going to do an interview with Anon, and you're going to talk about these things as well.
Sure.
Okay, then we can go and watch this later. Okay, brilliant. All right, then I wanted to talk a little bit about slavery because we had Mr. AZ last time, and I showed that his version, the Qur'an's version of slavery, doesn't make sense no matter how many times you want to go and reinterpret this. So what I've done...
Wait.
Yep.
Wait, is he like a follower of Rashad Khalifa?
Yeah.
Or a Quranist? Oh.
Yeah.
Like I was at that phase one time where I followed Adib Yüksel and his likes until I saw your video about him and the 19th theory.
Okay, but you know that he was actually on the show here?
Yeah. Who, Adib Yüksel?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was a long time ago. I saw that.
This was before, I think this was before I did the 19 miracle debunk.
There's a quick funny video. Let me put it on the side. Some brother being homeless, pretending to be homeless.
What? What did you say?
Muslim vlogger pretending to be homeless.
I understood something about a Muslim blogger.
Yeah, vlogger.
Vlogger.
Yeah, pretending to be homeless.
Turned into be harmless.
All right.
Okay, I'm going to carry on with this because I can't see the thing, the chat at the moment, because I've only got 2 monitors. I don't have 3. Let's quickly run through this, and if something comes out of that grill, why I had to kill my sister to defend my family's honor. Now, this is in Pakistan, and this is somebody who admits he had to kill his sister.
Sorry, go on.
Sorry, you saw what?
I just said I saw the article. Sorry, go on.
Oh, I thought you saw the guy. I thought maybe you know the guy. Okay, so this is a guy who went and killed his sister to defend his family's honor. So the honor concept is something that is incredibly strong in Pakistan. And there, if somebody does something, like if the woman goes around without covering herself, then this can dishonor the entire family because she's looking like a whore. So there's a lot of very strange, very, very peculiar thinking about this. And now what is quite funny, Pakistan passes long-awaited anti-honor killing legislation. So all this is now going so that the people who kill somebody else as an honor killing are no longer going to be get away scot-free, which is the case today. So this now happened because of exactly people killing each other in an honor killing. And then they walked free because they could prove that they were defending the honor of the family. And now this is no longer possible, even in Pakistan. They stopped this justification so that you can't do this anymore. So this despicable thing is going to disappear soon. And I hope that it's going to disappear out of the heads of the people, and not only because they are being punished, but that they will stop doing this. Okay, and now we're getting to what we were talking about earlier. Where do you get the stoning from? It's not in the Quran. So how do you get a justification for stoning? You have to get it from Muhammad. He is the only one who came up with the idea of stoning people. Then you get the Hadith saying that there used to be a stoning chapter or mention or sentence or something, and that it was eaten by a goat.
The goat ate it, I think.
Yeah, exactly. This is what
that was one of the reasons I left Islam. The thing about stoning, the stoning verse. That was eaten by a goat.
But this is the point. It's so stupid, and this is why I ask Muslims: do you categorically condemn those Muslims who stone another person to death? And this is where most of them will
Stop
say
swearing.
no.
I just want to say, if you talked to me 2 years ago, I would defend this verse. I'm not even joking.
I know that a lot of people have answered, this is the punishment of Allah. Who am I to judge Allah and his punishment?
I would have told you that it's impossible, that you need 4 witnesses and stuff like that. So,
Exactly. So now you laugh about this, but you believed it. This is the funny thing. And there are a lot of people who still believe this. And now this woman, she wrote, and she was not even allowed to publish it. She went and wrote about the stoning, and she is now being condemned to go to jail because she is spreading propaganda against the system. Because here the political system comes in. And she was convicted of insulting Islamic sanctities. And this is exactly what is happening. It is crazy that people are going to jail about something so stupid, just because she wrote something about stoning. And people don't like it because it makes Islam look barbaric, which unfortunately it is. Okay, now we get... there's one more serious item, because then it gets a little bit hilarious. A pregnant 12-year-old girl was brought to hospital by a 40-year-old husband. So the husband was 40 and the pregnant girl was 12. And this is in the UK. So this is... it's amazing what people still get away with today.
Hello, Michael.
Hello there. Hi. How are you?
Fine, fine. How are you?
I'm good. My name's actually David, but I've logged in as somebody else because I don't.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
I'm just really interested. I found this channel, and I'm just interested in what the motivation is behind it. You know.
The motivation.
Of what?
Of this channel.
Which channel?
This channel.
This
we
show,
just
the show that, who am I speaking with now?
I am the if I am talking, you will see the news item that I was talking about. So this is the Gin and Tonic show.
Okay, yeah, I'm aware of that.
basically a
Yeah,
podcast.
But the guy talking
Yeah.
is Haram Sheikh.
Hello, hello.
How I'm Sheikh. Hello, how I'm Sheikh. Hello. I
Hello.
take it you're not a Muslim, no?
Maybe.
You may be. Well, are you or
Maybe.
not?
No. I'm safe.
No. Oh, good. You left Islam, you said, yeah?
I'm the opposite. Yes.
Oh, the opposite. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Interesting. You know, I've heard a few of your things. I just thought I'd come on, have a chat, whatever. See how the conversation.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. I think you're playing. Never mind.
Yeah, how do I turn that off? How do I do this?
Just mute the video. There you go.
Yeah, this was me.
Right, you go.
Okay, Michael, there's a button. Did you find the button with the microphone in the middle of the screen?
Oh, I see. Yeah. What do I push? Mute.
Well, there's a microphone with a line through it. If it is white, that means your microphone is on, and if red, then that means your microphone is off. So now it's off, and now we don't get any background noise. Brilliant. If you want to comment something, if you want to join in, just go ahead. I'm just quickly going to run through some new stuff, and then in 2 minutes we're going to be continuing the discussion. Is that okay? All right, then we just go on with that. Okay, so this was the discussion on how a guy with 40 years old went into hospital, claimed his wife was 20, when it turns out she was 12 and pregnant. And it was obvious to everybody that she was a child and nowhere near 20. But this is what is happening today in the UK, which I find is absolutely amazing. Then you have a guy in the Philippines who made some tweets against Jews, and he is supposed to be an ambassador to the United Nations. I don't know why people don't think, saying that he would be happy to slaughter 3 million drug addicts. I mean, what kind of an idiot will do that? So, and he uses this final solution. I mean, this real Nazi language. I hope I'm not misnudged. I will analyze the drug problem and its final solution, a la Auschwitz, objectively. Come on, how stupid.
Hey, stop. Can you see, I've just posted up an image in the chat.
I cannot see the chat at the moment because I've got this on full screen.
Can you have a click on the image and full screen, because it's something you said about honor killings reminded me there's actually an advert for a bus, and I managed to find a photograph of the anti-honor killing advert that's been put on buses, I think in Canada.
Oh, and Imam, you said it's in the UK. From what I heard, the 12-year-old child. It's in China, isn't it?
Was this in China?
The UK gets honor killings quite frequently.
No,
you're right. It was in China. East China, Jiangsu.
Yeah,
correct.
Someone in the comment section.
I misread. Yeah, this is true. So I need to go now to the chat, and there was in China. Is this the IB? No, this is
our Google chat window. The one
it was
that only we who are talking can see.
Let me open this thing. Is your family threatening you?
Yeah, that's apparently an anti-honor killing advert that has been protested against by the lefties in Canada, saying it's not very nice to put anti-honor killing adverts on buses.
Okay, so this is an advert that is on a bus,
American, yeah.
It says Muslim girls' honor killed by their families. Is your family threatening you? Is there a fatwa on your head? We can help. Go to fightforfreedom.com. And there apparently, and it's got something got on AFDI and the SIOA. I don't know who or what these things are, these organizations. Anyway, you can go there and you can tell them to go and do something about their honor that is being threatened. No, the honor threats that are being issued against them.
I know we have something similar in the UK. I don't know what they were called, but they got featured last week because of the honor killing that went on with this 12-year-old. But it happens quite frequently in the UK, more frequently than people getting killed, shall we say, because I don't think a year goes by without someone getting honor killed by someone from the Indian/Pakistan nationality background.
Reminds me of this friend of ours who always gets these requests to go and restore virginity and to take care of any kind of inflammation due to female genital mutilation and things like that, which are still being practiced in Europe in the 21st century. It's so appalling. Ah, yes. Is there a fatwa on your head? Come and talk to us. Yeah, this is the reality.
It seems to be quite localized. I mean, I don't really often hear stories of, shall we say, North Africa. You do tend to, once in a blue moon, hear about it. Saudi, never. I've never heard of an honor killing going on. But then again, we get very little news come out of Saudi.
Yeah, but something like
even here,
Aslam.
like in Kuwait, like you don't hear about it, but it does happen, you know. But no one talks about it, and it doesn't get reported to the police or anything. Yeah. But like that, like where did the girl go? You know, just
maybe the reasons are not said, but it happens. Like in Afghanistan, there was one, but now they've found the reason for it. So my point is, maybe they don't say the reason, but it does happen.
Yeah, it happens, but it doesn't get reported in the news. This is the whole point. And then it doesn't go into the judicial system either.
It's not really a Muslim thing, though, because the Jewish Torah says if you've got a disobedient child, kill it. So, it's quite an old tradition in the Middle East in general.
Yeah, but this is why it's good that in Pakistan now they have a law against this, saying you are no longer allowed to, you will not be allowed to go free, which is exactly what Haram Sheikh was saying now, that, it doesn't get reported on and it doesn't go any further. Well, now it does, according to the law. How long it's going to take before this is being implemented, well, that's another story. But at least this is a first step in the right direction, I think.
Hello.
Yes, Michael. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm just saying, based on what you've been saying, are you trying to promote Islam?
No, we discuss Islam. We try to look at the history of it, the actuality of it.
You try and tell me one verse in the Quran where any of this is propagated, where this is put forward as a positive thing. This is completely anti-Muslim. This is the whole point. This has got nothing to do with anything. It's just a byproduct of cultural nonsense, evil people. I live in England. I could go on about domestic violence, drug abuse. I just don't understand what you're trying to achieve by...
I'll try to do this.
So is everybody in England a drug abuser?
Well, I used to be, yeah. I was a drug abuser. Not everyone, no, but a lot of people are. A lot of people in high positions are. And
why did you bring this example that people in England are drug abusers?
Did I say that?
Yes.
Kind of. It kind of came off like that.
One negative part of...
No, but the thing is, this difference between what you said is that's not custom traditions or anything to be a drug dealer or anything. It's not accepted.
No,
we're talking about things that are accepted, that are passed around.
What? So you're saying that honor killings are accepted in certain societies?
In certain parts, yes. In certain places, that's why it happens to preserve honor. I mean, this is the problem we come across. There's a Western type Muslim and there's the Eastern type Muslim.
Yeah.
And we are exposed to the Western type. I'm not. Most of us here, like Anonymous, Imam, me, and some of us here are exposed to the Eastern type, which would definitely be okay with this. They would.
But isn't it then up to them as a society to use their knowledge and wisdom to cut it out, like any other law. You know, every culture has their own.
But that's what I'm just doing.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm just because I just think you're coming from a point of view that bashes Islam all the time, but that seems to be you don't come
I
with
don't
anything.
understand bashes.
Yeah.
Well, we try to be critical of it.
Critical. Yeah.
No, I don't try. I am critical of Islam. Yes.
But you're not getting anywhere. But being critical, you're just doesn't make. I don't understand. Are you trying to reach out to Muslims to refute?
Oh, you think no? We're just discussing, and usually they just tag along. Muslims like anonymous here at me.
Yeah.
Tag along.
Okay. So
I used to watch Imam Brothers videos as well.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm being a bit. Yeah.
No, it's cool. It's cool. As long as you know you're mature about it, and you are.
Oh, okay. So it's just a discussion. Oh, it's interesting. Yeah.
No, it's not just a discussion. I mean, we do have we have an umbrella topic that we talk about, and there's always background information which we pass on to those people who are not so well versed in Islam. Because we have people who are knowledgeable in Islam, information to those who are not.
From my perspective, I was ignorant of Islam. I had no idea. No one taught me. I read the Quran. I've looked into it myself, and isn't that what the Quran teaches? You can try and teach people, but you're just giving them misinformation. The only source of Islam is the Quran. That's the beauty of it.
But there's the Hadith as well.
No,
the Hadith. I'll wipe my ass with the Hadith. It's
but
nonsense.
That's you. There are people.
It's me. But at the same time, there's people.
No, that a lot of people take the Hadith really seriously, especially Sunni Muslims.
Yeah, but that's exactly. What did you just say? Sunni Muslim. Show me in the Quran where there's a Sunni Muslim. There is no Sunni Muslim. It's a man-made nonsense. Just like the Jews. I was born a Jew.
We're not arguing what's real. We're arguing what they believe. We're not interested in what's real.
We discussed this earlier on in the show.
Oh, I missed it.
Justification of a Quranist who says there is no Hadith, it's the Quran only.
Yeah.
Because we had a Quran only guy last week, and this is why we discussed this. And we said the different things. What is the justification? Why does it say obey Muhammad if you don't know what Muhammad is? How many times should you pray? And so on. So we went through all the different justifications for being a Quranist and why 90% of the Muslim population are not Quranists but are Sunni Muslims.
I'll tell you why they're not Quranists, because they haven't woken up. They haven't actually read the Quran themselves. 90% of Muslims I speak to can't quote a verse. I can. They don't understand.
Wait, Michael, are you a Quranist?
I'm a nothing. I believe in one God, and I believe God sent scriptures which have been manipulated over time. We're left with the Quran, black and white. It hasn't been changed.
So you're a Quranist?
I'm not going to say I'm a Quranist. I'm going to say I'm somebody who...
No, but what we're saying is, do you believe in the Quran?
Do I believe? What do you mean believe? I believe it's there. The fact
no, hang on. If you say you believe in the one God, which God is that?
Which what?
Which God?
Which one?
Your God. The same God as your God.
No. Which God? Okay. Can you describe where you get your knowledge about any God from?
Okay. This is a complicated...
No, just one sentence.
One sentence? Where do I get my knowledge of God from?
We're interested. No, we are interested.
When I say the Quran, you're going to turn it on me and say, oh, well, how do you know?
No. I'm not here. No, I'm not here to turn anything on anybody. I'm just trying to establish what it is that you believe, why you believe it, and where this comes from.
Okay, I was born Jewish.
You can't be born Jewish.
Yeah, I was born into the Jewish faith.
Ah, there you go.
Okay, and one day I decided to look into religion myself.
Great, okay.
And after many years of deliberation and looking at various sources, all religions, I've concluded that there is a God, and the Quran fits my interpretation of what God is, and it also feeds back to me and makes perfect sense. So the combination of the two has led to me being.
How can it make perfect sense? Did you read it?
Have I read the Quran?
Yes.
Of course, multiple times.
All of it makes sense. All of it.
Many times.
MH and Anonymous both understand Arabic here.
Oh, okay. Look, I don't read Arabic, but I've read the English translation.
No, I'm not trying to bring the logical fallacy, but what I'm saying is there's the argument that you have to understand Arabic to...
No, there isn't. No, the Quran explains...
And that's bullshit, by the way. You know?
Yeah. But I'm just trying to clear that logical
I'll clear
fallacy.
it up from the Quran. If you read it, it says, we've revealed this in an Arabic Quran. But as for those who disbelieve, they be deaf and blind to it as if being addressed from far away. The language is irrelevant. It's there now. We can all have access to it. And now it's up to us as individuals to decide. That argument regarding language.
All right, I'm really interested in what makes you believe in it. How are you so certain?
How am I so certain?
Without being, like if you want someone else to understand how you're so certain of your belief in it.
That is a question that is subjective.
Mm-hmm.
For me,
okay.
But I think,
but is that if it's you say it's true. It's true. You're saying it's true, right?
It's as true as we can see quantum physics and things like that. I know you can use an example. There's evidence 2 + 3 = 5 or 4 + 4 = 8. But that's
what's
just
the best way of proving it's how real it is? Best way of proving it.
It's as real as, like the Quran says, there's a verse, this is as real as the fact that you can see.
No, but is there a method that we can all use?
No, there isn't a method because...
To get to the... But isn't there a way, a plan? I mean, if you want something... If you want...
Does it really matter? The fact is it's there.
I mean,
it's up to us to sift through the information and come to a decision. It's one of those things. There's no other book like this. That's the problem.
What are you saying? There are no other books, but there are science books. There are more correct books in what other books.
Whoa. Book that claims it from God in this sense, in this capacity.
There are Bible. There are other books. There's millions.
Hang on.
You'll understand that the Bible was revealed from the same
listen, Michael, if you say that there is no book like it, what is like it?
Sorry?
If you say there is no other book like it, what is like it?
So what are you saying like it? What are you trying to...
There is nothing like it. That's the whole point.
Like
That's
what?
why we're here now discussing this, because it's...
No, but when you're saying like it, what parts are you trying to compare?
It's aroused so many emotions and thoughts in people over
there are books that arouse emotions.
Let him finish, Haram. Let him finish speaking.
Okay.
No, this book is it's obvious that it's either there to be accepted or rejected. Otherwise, it would have just been pushed to the wayside. There's too much in it, and it's still getting stronger, and it's still affecting people's lives in ways that are positive and negative, just like it says, good and evil. There's no middle ground. It's black and white. God, no God, good, evil. Yes, no.
So is that what impresses you most?
Yes, the fact that after 10 years of studying it, I've realized that it's multifaceted. It goes on layers. It starts off with fear. There's no doubt it gave me fear. Oh, you're going to hell if you disbelieve. But gradually, I denied it. I've been a denier, but the more you read it, it's almost, it encapsulates you.
Wait, just one question. Do you think that the book is clear, that it's not ambiguous?
To be honest, I have read various translations. I've read some translations, obviously Edith Yüksel, the reformist Quranist, That's by what I can go on. I've read these. And to me, there's no ambiguity. Maybe initially, when I was ignorant to it, but like the Quran explains, there's verses in it. God is the teacher of the Quran. We will teach you this. The more sincere you are as you read it, and if you have faith, it opens up new levels of understanding where you see life in a different perspective. And basically, it comes to a point where it's literally, you realize that you will be faced with judgment. That's the experience I have had on a spiritual level that is subjective, but I can't convey to anyone else.
Hang on.
somebody asked me in the chat to ask you, do you know what the people are whom the right hand possesses?
Do I
Aimanikum.
know who the people? I know certain verse regarding. Is that to do with slavery, apparently, or?
Well, they are being
Concubines.
referred to around 24
Yes.
times. What do you think these are?
Oh, or what your right hand possess? Is this? What would you say is?
No, you say that you are impressed by the Quran, and I'm asking you, what do you understand if it says the people whom the right hand possesses?
Can you give me a couple of verses in the context, please? Because I haven't got the Quran
Hold
with
on.
me.
I'll
You
find it.
don't remember the verses,
I
That's all
do,
right.
but I'm just,
but you do remember that it does exist.
it does exist. But I'm saying I've always looked
From
at it
Maida.
like as a figure of
Is
speech.
this Surah Maida or Nisa? Nisa, right? Nisa.
Nisa.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on, give me an example, and I'll try and give my way on it.
Okay, if
I
it
just-
says the people whom the right hand possesses, if you hear that, what does that mean?
Oh, is that a verse on its own?
No, there are 24 or 28, I can't remember how many occurrences where it says those whom your right hand possesses. What do you understand that that means?
It's a good question. It hasn't stumped me because the thing with the Quran is I've had a similar incidences, like with one verse where it talks about the children of the cave and a few odd things. Noah, he lived 300 years plus 9, and there was one particular verse that got to me about how they killed a child or something, and then they replaced it because he was going to cause problems in the future. You were aware of that?
Can you read this?
Who wants to read it?
Oh, I just read it. Put it up again. I just saw that.
And
If
you wanna
you
read-
fear that you will not deal justly with the orphan girls, then marry those that please you of other women, 2 and 3 and 4. But if you fear that you will not be just, then marry only one,
Yeah.
or those your right hand possesses.
Well, obviously, at that time, they must have had different traditions and cultural laws.
So the Quran is only for the time of the cultural laws of 1,000 years ago.
No, but if there was a society now that had the same similar laws, I suppose it would override it. It overrides all man-made
So
laws.
it's not for every society, yeah?
It is for every. Well, it says it is. I'm not here to say how well people perform by following it, but it is addressed to humankind, not.
Michael, you made a claim, okay? You said that you are impressed with the Quran, and the Quran is the best ever book, and there's nothing like it. And all we're doing is we're trying to understand why you would say that. And that is why somebody in the chat said, can we ask you what you understand the people are that your right hand possesses? Because 99% of all Muslims say these are slaves. But last week we had somebody who said, no, these are just people who have a different work contract. So we're trying to establish what you believe.
If it is a slave, there's absolutely no problem with slavery at all in certain respects. If you can have what are we all now? When I go to work, I'm a slave.
Well,
I'm a slave to the government. No, let me finish. I'm a slave to the government laws. If I try and go against it, I'm a slave to money. I'm a slave to the monetary system, to the
Does
bank.
the monetary system marry you?
Marry me? Well, in a sense, no, but
the Quran says that you can either marry women or you can marry those whom your right hand possesses, i.e. slaves.
And so what? In English law, 2 men are allowed to have sex together.
What's
Do
wrong with
you
that?
think that 2 men having sex together
How is that related?
that needs to be punished?
No, they can get married. It doesn't say, yeah.
Okay, great. Now, let's get back to slaves. Do you think that a man should be allowed to marry either a free woman or a slave?
Well, why not? If that's what the Quran says, it makes sense. The law.
So you think slavery is perfectly permissible?
Well, it was for a long time, and if it's done in the right way.
Well, it says it's valid for today, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it depends how we use slavery, the term slavery. What is the term? Being owned by another person?
Well, it's somebody who was taken out of their environment, taken and sold to another person who now has the rights over that, and is possession.
Justification of that? You're saying what your definition of slavery is, but
okay, you have a different definition of slavery. So what is the definition of slavery that you are talking about?
I'm looking at it from me being a slave to an employer. You're a slave. You have to turn up at a certain time, or you don't get paid. You haven't got freedom of. They're trying to bring in better laws to help people.
Do you have human rights?
Yeah, but basically, this is just a modernization of slavery.
Does a slave have? Okay, were you sold to your employer?
No, but what I'm saying is,
okay, we're not getting anywhere. Do you think owning another human being without any rights is a good thing? Yes or no? Okay, thank you. That's it. I was supposed to ask you. I did. You gave an answer. Cool.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, but it's made me think. Yeah, the whole concept of slavery is a tough one.
That's the good thing.
If the Quran says it's a good.
To get you thinking, that's what we want.
And just about the ambiguity, but if you read the Quran in Arabic, you will notice that they don't put like semicolons and like full stops because they don't know where to put them. They might change the meaning, so they just leave it open. Yeah. You know, so if that's not ambiguous.
Has that had a major effect on the translation that I've had, on the transliteration?
Yeah, there are millions of translations. That's the effect that it had. Like, it's not clear. The book is not clear.
Really?
Okay.
Was that what you think?
Jos, you wanted to ask something.
That's it, yeah.
Oh, yes. Hi, everybody. Hello, Michael. I was quite intrigued by your introduction that you said you were born into the Jewish faith.
Yeah.
That's something that we share, and I'm interested in, well, my interest here is to compare Judaism and Islam. And I'm very interested in what did you find in Islam that you didn't find in Judaism?
It's not so much what did I find. I never looked at religion like something you have to do, like, oh, I'm this, I'm that. It's just that over time, I've realized that within Judaism, as I've got older, I'm still a Jew by birth. I'm not as cultural. I'm a Jew, but I can be a Jew and believe in one God and believe that there's a lot of discrepancies within the Jewish religion themselves, which means that there was another message that needed to be sent to clarify that. Because if I look at the Jewish community, there's so many subdivisions and lack of awareness of other faiths, and they're very close-minded. You know, they're the ones who have almost shut themselves off to the point where they have created it as a separate religion, which it isn't. It's the same message. The Quran explains this. We're all the same, and it says that there will be some Jews and Christians who see through the bullshit, my language, who see through the lies. You know.
Maybe you can explain to me what you mean by the subdivisions you see in the Jewish faith.
Not subdivision, but obviously you've got different. You've got you've got Reform, then you've got Orthodox, and you've got who follow Talmud, people who are more pro-Israel, it's become all bitty, basically. I mean, what was sent to the children of Israel, the 12 tribes, they got split up, did their own thing. But ultimately, the message is one and the same, you know? For Muslims and Jews, but they're brothers, they're cousins. There's no difference between them. I mean, people need to look through the rubble and see that they're all equal and all the same. You know, I'm not a humanist in that sense. I'm not coming from my own swing. I'm just looking at it. I believe the Quran does back up everything I'm saying. You know, I think we're all the same, and that's the message. That's the true religion. That
Then
it
there's
says
a
they
lot of
recognize it.
We're all the
I'm
same
looking-
except slaves and women.
Sorry? Slaves, but again, it depends how you define slavery.
What about women? Are they also the same?
Woman is the same as man. The Quran says this. They're equal in the sight of God. They've just got different roles.
Aha, so the man is not a degree above the woman?
I don't personally think so. No, personally.
That's what the Quran says.
Can you show me where it says that exactly?
2:28.
Read the verse. I haven't got it on me. If you can.
I am not a hafiz. I could tell you where it is. And I could tell you what it says, that men are a degree above women. They are the caretakers of women.
Oh,
That is why women go and inherit only half of what a man inherits.
Caretaker. A caretaker is what it is. A caretaker. They are supposedly a caretaker.
Okay, my wife is the CEO of a big company. Why should I take care of her?
Well,
you know that's a problem in Saudi Arabia right now. They're dealing with male guardianship.
and it's not the same in other countries who don't follow religion, that the man doesn't try and dominate the woman.
It's not about other religions, it's about what the Quran says. You say you are impressed by the Quran. I'm showing you that it's misogynistic, and you are saying you're okay with it. Okay, fine.
No, I don't think it is misogynistic. I've read all the arguments for and against, but again, you can look at it either way. You can look at it from yes, it is, or no, it isn't.
So beating your wife is not misogynistic, huh?
It doesn't say beat. It's about warning them. Again, this is where it comes to. I don't know the Arabic, but I've read obviously Yüksel's argument.
It says "wadribuhunna" means hit them.
Strike them, hit them, strike them. Yeah, and there's another place which uses the same word to strike the unbelievers. So you know you don't.
Okay, two things. One, you can look at that like strike them out. I've read that like get rid of them, strike them out, or whatever. Yeah. But even if worst case scenario, I'm not saying this is true. Hello. Worst case scenario, even if it was in a favor of doing that, are you telling me that's any worse than what people are doing without the religion to women?
That's not the point. The point is what it says in the Quran. The point is you are impressed by the Quran. You are impressed by women being treated worse than a man, and that is what I find suspicious.
But now you're putting words in my mouth. I didn't say that. That's your opinion of it.
That's you said this.
From reading it multiple times, it says they take the best interpretation and follow that.
Okay, so you are saying that the sentences which say that a woman, is there a condition under which a woman can inherit more than a man? No, a woman inherits less than a man, half. Can a woman marry 4 men? No. So there are a lot of instances in the Quran which do not allow the same and equal rights for a woman and a man.
Okay, look where equal rights has led to us now. Look at
this is not the point. The point is what it says in the Quran.
Men don't know if they're women, and women don't know if they're men.
It's what it says in the Quran.
Blurring the lines between the two distinct species, in a sense, if you species.
Wait, you're saying that they're not species?
What?
They're not 2 different species?
No, not. I did. That's the wrong word. Sorry, not species.
All right.
Look, man and woman are different. They have different.
Sorry, it was just a bit funny how he's.
Yeah.
They have different genders.
Hold on one sec.
The word you're looking for is gender.
So because they're different, a man is better than a woman, huh? Because they're different.
Michael, you're talking bullshit. Really, you are talking absolute shit. You.
No, you are.
I'm telling you what it says in the Quran, and you are telling me men and women are equal. They are not equal.
No, on a spiritual level they are, and that's all that matters.
I am not talking on a spiritual level. I gave you 2:28, which does not talk about a spiritual level. It says that men are a degree above women. I gave you 4:11, which says it is not for a woman to inherit the same as a man. She inherits half. I gave you 4:43, which says that you can beat women. I am not talking spiritually beating, but physically beating. Okay. I agree with yours. You're a bullshitter.
No, I'm saying physically, men and women are different. Okay. Now, from reading the Quran and looking at the logic in it and the wisdom, it's very unlikely that God would want us to beat women and to be.
See, Michael, this is the problem. You're putting your version twist on the interpretations.
No, but isn't
You're
that
not,
the
you're
way
not
forward?
looking at it in an honest view.
I'm trying to look at it honestly, but
Who do you think wrote the Quran? Was it written by God or was it written by Muhammad?
Muhammad wrote it, but it came through a higher source of knowledge.
So Muhammad
A
could write.
higher source of knowledge. Are you saying that a higher source of knowledge spoke to him and then he just repeated what he heard?
In a sense, yeah, that's what how it proclaims it was made, and over 23
So
years.
if it was said by a God
Yeah,
that you believe in, should that God have the same values as you have today?
not necessarily. No,
Not necessarily. So you're saying God changes.
no, God doesn't change. God's laws
But
are.
you just said he does. You said you have values which Stop Spamming here says are in the Quran. And you say you don't hold those views. It is quite literal that in the
Okay.
time of Muhammad, they believed anyone they captured could be
Yeah.
made a slave.
Really?
It was a
Yeah,
part
yeah.
of the booty, part of the conquest of their holy jihad. Now you, I gather from your accent, live in England, possibly the London area.
Yes, yeah.
You don't believe in slavery, do you? You don't
It
think
exists,
anybody...
it exists. There's still people slavery going on.
No, I'm not asking what other people do. England, in its history, Britain,
Yeah,
decided not to have slaves back in the 1700s. And we
yeah,
fought wars in America to stop slavery.
yeah.
And then from that, we got this tradition in Britain and America. We don't believe in slavery. We
No.
don't believe we can go to Afghanistan, for example, fight the Taliban and enslave them. We won't do that.
Well, we lock
But
people
in
up
Muhammad's day,
we lock people up in
God was
prison,
telling them you
take
can
away their
invade.
rights,
Yes,
treat
you
them
could.
as animals.
Yeah, but in Muhammad's day, God was telling Muhammad he could go to places like Afghanistan, fight wars with the people living there, and
Okay.
enslave them. So how does that make sense? How
But
does
when it says okay, even if it were to say that, which it does in a sense, are
it
they
does
not
literally?
rights? Are they not given human? Are they not protected? Are they not shown?
They were actually castrated in his day. The men were castrated so they couldn't breed. That's why you don't get
To be
many
honest,
black
I think
men in
I'm not
Saudi
sure.
Arabia because the slaves were not allowed to breed.
And you're saying that God advocated doing evil.
The
That's
Quran advocates it, and you say the Quran was written by God. My own belief is the Quran was written by Muhammad and the caliphs. God was not involved.
I appreciate your viewpoint, and
I'm an atheist.
yeah,
Therefore, I'm going to have a different viewpoint.
yeah,
I
yeah.
look at the Quran from a kind of historical sense.
Okay, yes,
I think if you look at history and you look at what they actually did in 650 AD,
yeah.
you got a better idea of what the Quran was trying to say to its followers.
Okay. Obviously,
That's my view.
Yeah, you're a lot more knowledgeable than me around those things, but I can't look at that. I have to look at it as it is now. It exists now. And
Well,
the
you're
fact,
looking at today's culture.
Yeah.
You'll be brought up in a country that doesn't believe in slavery. But I've heard other Muslims from England who say they live in Luton, these Muslims, but they will say if they ever get Sharia,
yeah,
God will, in this country, people like me will be executed. People like you and Stop Spamming would have to pay the jizya, the slave tax, the
Yeah.
unbelievers tax, because
I
you
don't
don't
know.
follow their version of Islam. You're still a person of the book, but you're not one of them. And that's how the Quran is written. If you're not one of Muhammad's inner circle, you're an outsider.
Just to be honest here, yes, it does say you can take them as slaves, but you are allowed to free them as well. So.
What was that? You just defended?
No.
it?
No. I'm not backing up.
I think it came down to it's very much a us and them. If you became a slave and you then became a Mohammedan, a Muslim, you were not allowed to be kept as a slave. Because
but this just a lot of what the gentleman that was just speaking, the atheist, self-proclaimed atheist, said. We're just nitpicking. Ultimately,
what we're doing is we're trying to understand the historical. We're trying to broaden our knowledge. What was Islam? That's how the Jinn&Tonic show started. It started with some guys like Stop Spamming saying, nobody really knows about Islam, so let's really look into it.
That's the beauty of it.
Michael, if you want to know more about slavery, just look up Bani Qurayza, the Jews that Muhammad killed, and he killed like 600 of them and took their children and wives as slaves and sex slaves.
Where's the evidence? Well, look what
the seerah and the Prophet's life.
There's no evidence of it. A lot of it could just be make believe. We can't say.
Then how come the Quran is not make believe? If that stuff is make believe, but not the Quran.
I'm going to read you a couple of sentences. Have you ever heard of the Barbary War?
Barbary War.
The Barbary War.
Vaguely recall it. But...
Very vaguely. It was when America was first born, when it had its War of Revolution, and it started to sail the seas in its ships. One of the American Navy ships was attacked by the Barbary Muslims and enslaved. Okay. All the crew enslaved. Now, obviously, there was a diplomatic incident. And in 1786, Thomas Jefferson and John Adams went to visit the Tripoli ambassador to Great Britain. And they asked the diplomat, why have you done this to us? We're a new country. We have never offended Islam. We have never waged war against Islam. We are not crusaders. We are new. And you know what the reply was?
No.
From a Sidi Hajj Abdul Rahman Hajjah, the ambassador, he said, it was founded on the laws of the Prophet, that it was written in the Qur'an that all nations who have not acknowledged their authority were sinners, and it was their right and duty to make war upon them wherever they could be found, and to make slaves of all they could take as prisoners. And every Mussulman, that's Muslim, who would be slain in battle was sure to go to paradise. That is authentic Islamic thinking from somebody in the 1786 period of our world history. That is exactly what is stated in the Quran. But you wouldn't behave like that.
It's a good point from your.
Well, you have to ask yourself a question. Did God write the Quran or did Muhammad write the Quran? Would God write that
statement? Information, historical information. I have struggled in the past to try and put it into context of all nations and all people. But when I look at it from the circumstances that I presently find myself in now, it makes sense to me. And again, that goes back to it being subjective. And from a historical point of view, there's no way for me to dispute that. I can't say that gentleman in the 17th century in the Barbary War had that mindset and he was following a certain ideology or system of thinking at that time. But at the same time, he still had a conscience. He still has to be judged. And you know what? Like the Quran says, God will judge between us at the end, between our disputes. And sometimes, like it says, we'll be surprised that when we see people in the hell, we'll be stunned that they're there, and the same for the heaven.
That is maybe quite true. I mean, I can't comment
who could be true. It could be true.
Go to hell.
Maybe we're having this discussion today to maybe, who knows? But ultimately,
I would always say, let your conscience be your guide and try to do the best things that you can do, and forget the holy books. I mean, you could use them possibly to gain enlightenment, and maybe there might be enlightenment things in there.
Doesn't work. Look, at the end of the day, you can go on about conscience and I follow my way and I've come to my own belief, but I'd sincerely believe, as I saw a good argument with a rabbi once, going back to my Jewish roots. He made the best point. If there's a believer in God, sincere believer, who believes in judgment and recompense, and an atheist who travels a high moral ground and thinks they're like really good person, when it comes to it, who is more likely to commit the evil act by what we would call evil?
The Muslim.
No.
Yeah.
No, Muslim. See, why do you say the Muslim? Why are you straight on the Muslim? No.
Because I have nobody to command me anything. I have nobody who commands me to subjugate anyone, to oppress anyone, to kill anyone, to smite anyone, to behead anyone, to hit anyone. I have nobody who commands me to take slaves. I have nobody.
Yeah, but you have
our values. The thing is, Michael, our values change. They adapt. I mean, there's a difference. It doesn't mean if you are an atheist, it doesn't mean that you all of a sudden become good or bad. It just means that you have no objective morals.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean, there's nothing you go on like.
Well, I would object.
It doesn't mean you're bad or good. I mean, yes, you follow laws, you follow basic principles.
Remember, I'm coming from the standpoint of someone who had no faith.
It means we can be better than you. It means we can be better. Do you understand? Like, you have a set way of going. We can be better.
No, it's not a set code. There's no way God can enforce anything. It's up to
you think, like you just said, you believe it's perfect, right? The Quran is perfect, right?
Sorry?
But like a minute ago, we just showed you that slavery is wrong. But you said, oh, okay, yeah, it's wrong. That I wouldn't be okay with that. If you know what I'm trying to get.
Can I just ask my standard question, Michael? Do you condemn stoning?
Stoning depends if you smoke it. Nah.
Do you categorically condemn Muslims who stone a woman to death?
Of course I do. Come on. What do you take me for? Bloody a Taliban master? What do you know?
Do you categorically condemn people who own other human beings without giving them any kind of human rights?
The second part, yes, without giving them human rights, but to own another human.
There you go. So you are better than your God. That's it.
Oh, all right. Fair play.
Okay, but listen.
All I know is I haven't got the arrogance or I haven't got the guts to say I'm better than God. I've tried.
Well, you should, because you are. But now let me ask you another question. Do you think the Quran is really such a wonderful book?
I need the toilet. Do I believe it's such a wonderful book? Not necessarily wonderful, but I'd say it's a very heavy message. Message.
What if there were contradictions and mistakes in it?
If there were contradictions and mistakes in it,
abrogation.
No, not abrogation. Really mistakes, really contradictions. What would that make it?
It would make it contradictory.
Okay, so you would still believe that this God contradicted itself and made mistakes?
But within the Quran, I know it says there are no contradictions in it. So who do I believe? Somebody coming from...
That's my question. That is why I'm asking you this question.
Okay, yeah.
So the answer is...
Give me 1 second, just 30 seconds. I want to go to the toilet. Hold on, 1 second. Sorry.
Oh, goodness. Okay. Is there any other opportunity, any other questions that anybody wants to ask? Because I'm now going to show him a contradiction in the Quran, and if he still thinks that this is now a godly book, I don't know if I should go to the omnipotent thing, which doesn't work. I don't know.
So what was the question spamming, sorry?
No, the question is, would a contradiction and a mistake in the Quran make you doubt that it is written by a superior God, a divine being?
I've looked at all the arguments, every one. Believe me, all these typical arguments.
Yeah, but you haven't been on the Jinn&Tonic show yet. Here things are a little bit different.
I could see that. Yeah, I'm interested to see your swing.
All right, let me try this one. Do you have a Quran handy?
I do actually, yeah.
Okay, can you pick it up? Can you tell me first, what do you think the Quran says about how to treat parents?
It says to honor them.
Okay, what is the word haram? What do you know the word haram?
Give me 1 second, I'm just getting my book. I can't find it. I've got a crappy version.
It's on the top shelf, wrapped in the cloth so that Women who are menstruating can't get it.
Go on, carry on, mate. What were you saying?
Okay. The Quran, do you know the word haram?
From what I know of haram, it means almost forbidden or not, or frowned upon, not looked at as
Excellent.
something.
So you do speak Arabic. Is there any way that haram can mean anything else?
It's hard to say. It's hard to say. You know, I'm a limited. My linguistic skills aren't great, as you can hear. But
okay, if it says prohibited, can it mean commanded?
If something's prohibited, can it be commanded?
That's my question.
Possibly, yeah. And until I know where this is leading, I don't want
to. You are saying that if I tell you to turn left, it can mean to turn right? If I tell you it's prohibited to eat pork, you're going to tell me, no, under certain circumstances, I can eat pork and I can have sex with any I want.
Oh, I see. You're going with the alcohol argument here, yeah?
Well, alcohol is not in the Quran, but I'm saying if you go with alcohol, if it is, it doesn't say prohibited, so we can't use alcohol. We have to use pork. Is pork prohibited, or can it mean, no, maybe you can eat pork?
Oh, I see. Look, if you're starving and you're dying and you've got no sustenance, I don't think God is going to say, because you ate pork, you're going to hell.
No, that's not the point. The point is, does it say prohibited or not?
I don't know the exact terminology, but it is. You're not meant to eat blood, pork.
Okay, you're not meant to, or you're prohibited from?
Well, you're prohibited, but we have freedom.
There you go. Are you allowed to have sex with anybody you want?
Well, I hope not, no.
Okay, is it prohibited or is it allowed?
Well, there's guidance on sexual conduct.
Okay, can it be that you are allowed to have sex with your female neighbor if you feel like it? If she's married, if you are married?
How do you know about this? No.
It's haram. Okay, it's haram. This is the meaning of a forbidden, prohibited. Okay, now, can you turn to chapter 6?
Yes.
In your Quran? Can you locate chapter 6?
Yeah, I'm looking now. Yes, number 6. Yes.
Okay, go to sentence number 151.
Yeah. Come, let me recite to you what your Lord...
Okay, exactly. Now, if you see there, you see the word haram, which is forbidden, and then you see 3 things. Number 1 is that you should not have any partners associated with God, that you should treat your parents well, and that you should not kill your children out of poverty.
Yeah, got you.
Yes, I should be a Hafiz. I'm doing this from the top of my head without having a Quran in front of me. Now, if you go to the second one, it says to treat your parents well or to honor your parents or whatever, right? What does it say there?
Yeah, I'm on the same verse. Yeah, come, let me, yeah.
What does it say about the parents?
And be kind to your parents.
Be kind to your parents. What does it say in front of the parents? Does it say you are commanded, or does it say, come, let me recite what is prohibited to you?
Yeah, you're right, yeah.
It says it's prohibited to be kind to your parents.
Well, the way that is written here is
well, this is the Quran. This is the word of your God. This is what you think is the best book on this planet.
Well,
and it says that it is prohibited to be kind to your parents, but just now you said you should be kind to your parents.
No, it's not. Hold on a sec. It says, if I look at it, well, I know you were discussing about the punctuation side of things.
No. This is not punctuation. This is a contradiction, a mistake in the Quran where the guy who wrote it mistook command for prohibited.
No, but it's got an and, so how can you be forbidden and be kind to your parents? If it was just...
Because in the beginning, there's 3 things. Do not associate any kind of partner to God, and be kind to your parents, and don't kill your children out of poverty. So those are the 3 things that it says that are prohibited. So you are prohibited from being kind to your parents, and you are prohibited from not killing your children, which doesn't work.
No, but as the sentence begins, if it would have specified there were 3 things that are prohibited.
Well, just read the sentence. Just read the sentence on your own.
Okay, I'll read you my version. You tell me, yeah?
No, you read the version. You read it.
Come, let me recite to you what your Lord has forbidden for you. that you should not set up anything with him and be kind to your parents.
Exactly. So you are prohibited from not associating anything with him. So you must associate something with your God. Congratulations. Have fun in hell.
Well, possibly.
Well, you said this was such a superior book. You said there is no book like it. I just asked you, are you going to start thinking differently if I show you a contradiction and a mistake? You said yes. I have now shown you a mistake and a contradiction. Now the rest is up to you.
But I wouldn't necessarily say there has to be some meaning behind it that I can't.
Of course there's a meaning behind it. Somebody's fucked up.
That's your opinion of it. Okay, and even if that was the case, that somebody's effed up, it's impossible because the Quran says there are no contradictions. So I have to look at it from that point of view. But obviously I can have, this is going to cause it did cause a slight concern in the back of my conscience for a split second, just like other things have. But
I can carry on for for 3 hours on this. There are so many things in the Quran that I can tell you.
Please do, please do.
Okay, let's take the next one.
Okay.
What are mountains?
Mountains, the pegs in the ground, aren't they, apparently?
Are mountains really pegs?
Not really, no, but...
Well, there you go. How can the Quran make a claim that is wrong?
Well, some people say that the fact that the way that they formed from the ground, they are almost as pegs.
Actually,
some people
they're more like...
I wonder what some people are. If you ask geologists, they all say, no, they float.
Really?
They float on the magma, no, below it. It's basically like two papers coming together. One goes under, one goes above.
So
well,
I did geography.
This is the problem.
So what about the stalagmite and phalagmite? All that
No, stalagmites and stalactites are just formations of minerals.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take the next one. Can you show me a barrier between salt water and sweet water?
I've heard this argument before.
Of course, because it's stupid. The Quran is wrong. Where's the washing exactly? Okay, can you show me the barrier between sweet water and sweet water in oceans? There is none. Come on, we can carry on with this like for hours. There are so many things wrong with the Quran. How can birds be held up? Are aeroplanes being held up by God, or do they fly on them by themselves?
Depends.
Is it Bernoulli or God?
This argument, I'll give a good case. In a sense, everything, if you believe in God, everything, every subatomic element is.
Okay, when I'm sitting in a plane, I don't believe in a God. How come I can fly a plane?
Because it's God's will. You
I don't believe in God's will. Why does my aeroplane fly anyway?
Exactly.
Michael, for the sake of argument, try think it's not.
No, let me ask Mr. Spamming. Did you have any decision as to whether or not you were born? No, the same that you've got no power over any element. You think you have power, you have no power. We have no power.
How does that affect the Quran? Can you show me in the Quran where it says that I was born by my parents having sex?
Well, you were, but you didn't, as a conscious being now, unfortunately, you didn't have any say in that situation. So you're here now.
And how does that prove God?
It doesn't prove God, but it's just one way of looking at things. That we're
no, it's not. It's pretty childish saying you exist, therefore Quran, therefore God.
No, I think I didn't just wake up.
Exactly. Do you think ants can talk? Do you think ants can communicate with humans?
Not with humans, unless God wills it.
Okay, in the Quran it says, do you think that you can slap a corpse with a piece of steak and it will get up?
It's a possibility.
There is a possibility. I dare you go to any corpse in any morgue on this planet, take a piece of steak and go and slap it and see what happens.
Yeah, but because God is involved, anything can happen.
Well, that's basically, yeah, in a sense, what you're saying is has to be the only way that I can look at it in some sort of rational.
You have to. It's the only way you have.
Unless you're being conned. Someone else being conned. What's the difference? Do you see, Michael? We're just saying.
Yeah, of course, I've had all these discussions.
If someone else is being conned, what's the difference between you and him? You can look at the logical way. He's not going to.
Okay.
If none of you look at it, you're both. Even if one of you is right, one of you has been conned.
Believe me, I'm not under any illusion that there aren't certain verses.
Yeah, but once you're conned, you're not aware that you're conned.
That don't make sense to me. But maybe, have you ever considered, yeah, in conjunction with the proofs that are there, maybe it is a test. If this life is a test, maybe we should overlook.
Wait, if it's a test, tests are usually fair, right? They should be fair.
Right? The Pascal wager.
No, you could be manipulated.
No, I mean, he's saying it's a test, but shouldn't the test be fair?
But he's going into the Pascal wager.
Oh, okay. Oh, no.
No, the Pascal wager at all. No, I'm not saying that it's better to believe in God than not, but maybe
that's exactly what you are saying.
What's that?
That's where you were going.
No, how do you know where I was going?
Because you started saying it. Look, if we walk along the road and there is an old woman in front of us and she trips and is about to fall, will you catch her?
Would I what?
Would you try and catch an old woman who is walking in front of you and she trips? Would you try and steady her?
Depends on my mentality at the time, you know. Now,
aren't you going to stand by idly and let her fall?
No, probably
exactly. So where do you get that from?
Well, this is well, actually, I might let her fall just for self-amusement.
Just for fun, just so that you can laugh and say, "Oh, she fell."
It depends. You can't make every incident happens for a reason. Now, I believe that if I act in a certain way, there's a reasoning behind that.
Okay, if she drops her wallet, are you going to pick up the wallet and give it back to her?
Sorry?
If she drops her wallet, are you going to pick up the wallet and give it back to her?
Depends on my circumstances. If I was starving and I needed the money, no, I bloody wouldn't, no.
If she dropped a wallet, she'd be a man, wouldn't she?
Oh, sorry. Okay, if a man walks in front of you and he drops a wallet. Okay, her purse. I misspoke. Purse and wallet.
We are given guidance in the Quran how to act. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody who says that they're a Muslim.
If somebody drives off the petrol station and takes the hose with them, would you try and point out the hose that they are carrying behind them, dragging behind them?
Possibly. Again, these
what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to put you into an everyday situation where you would react exactly the same way as I would. Because of the altruistic streak that we have in us. Everybody has it, regardless of religion.
Has what?
An altruistic streak.
No, they don't. That's a lie. That's nonsense. You're talking rubbish.
Okay.
We have a conscience between good and evil, but as for being altruistic, nah, I don't believe in that at all. I think that's a
do you know what altruistic means?
It's the streak between good and bad.
Do you know what altruistic means, Michael?
It's something to do with human, helping, doing. Oh, I see. Benefiting yourself through benefiting others.
No, that's the opposite.
No.
Because you
I know what the term is.
It's on the lines.
I'm aware what the term is.
Yeah, I wasn't sure because you
often say
it's true because people do help others in.
But in a selfish way, you say it's all in a selfish way. Look, you think everything's driven by genes and genetics and evolution. Your theories are flawed.
The theories are flawed. Why don't you prove that one of the theories is flawed? Why don't you go and fly? Why don't you jump up and don't come down? That's the way to prove that the theory is flawed.
Wait, Michael, do you believe that God has the best qualities?
No, I'm saying that I agree in gravity. I follow the same laws as you do. The difference is I believe they were started or controlled by an other agency, i.e. a supernatural intelligence, which is like many scientists and intelligent thinkers do. And a lot of those people like Einstein believed in some sort of God and superior spirit, but when it came to religion, he thought it was the biggest load of superstitious crap ever. That was his decision. And that is why it's so beautiful that you can get somebody like Einstein, who's evidently more intelligent than anyone on this panel and me put together, and he came to his own conclusion.
I don't think he was interested in higher powers or that stuff.
He was a deist. He didn't believe in any of the earth religions at all.
I doubt who's ever interested in this.
No, he wasn't interested in Muslims or
No.
Islam or anything like
It
that.
never came into any of
He
these
just said if
discussions.
there's a God, he wouldn't play with dice.
See, I'm not
He
interested
wouldn't
how
make it
smart they
random.
are. I'm interested in the ideas they give.
Yeah.
So Einstein might be the stupidest person in another field, but in his physics or in his field, he's like the most amazing guy.
He was
What I'm
actually
saying is,
proved,
it's the
he was
ideas
proved
that are important.
stupid by the people who came up with quantum physics because they disproved quite a bit of his theory of relativity. So he wasn't. He was a clever man, but
Definitely.
he's one of many clever men, and he's not perfect.
But what I'm saying is the ideas we should focus on. It's not how clever they was.
Yes, we should look at the
ideas they
ideas.
tried.
That makes a man clever or not. I met
Exactly.
Well, but didn't Muhammad
hundreds of
have an idea,
professors who are
supposedly?
absolutely thick as brick. They're only good at regurgitating facts in a certain way to appear impressive. But if you actually bear down on them and try and get something original out of them, they can't do it.
Yeah,
They can
okay.
only regurgitate what they've been taught. That is not intelligence, that's being a parrot.
Yeah. Can you give an example? Someone like that?
Well, not really, because the people I knew are real people, and I don't like naming real people who are just basically parrots. But I suppose I could come out with one who wasn't a professor, but
Yeah.
the former Prime Minister David Cameron. How many
Okay.
lies did he tell? And that guy was a genius, believe it or not, according to academic standards. He's
Cameron.
got his degree. He's
He went to
passed his.
Cambridge somewhere.
Yeah,
Really?
Cambridge or
he was
Oxford.
a high A level, well, sorry, a high A standard achiever. The guy was best of his class.
Yeah.
But the guy was an absolute moron when it came to certain things, and an
Yeah.
absolute pussy when it came to looking after the poor and needy. He was
Yeah.
the only thing he believed in was himself and being in the limelight.
Yeah.
So always, it's what I goes back to. Even religion, let your conscience be your guide. You can be better than your God if you want to.
But I
Because
appreciate that point. But then when you ask yourself, it goes deeper than where did your conscience come from? That is when we have the problem, when we start asking questions like that. But then I've heard that people say you can't trust your own questions like that because it doesn't. It just goes on and on. It goes on and on. I've
Why is
sometimes
it a
been,
problem?
yeah.
No, why is it a problem? You said it's a problem. Why is it?
What's the problem? What, the conscience?
You said that if you lose faith in God, then you don't know where your conscience comes from, and that's the problem. Why is it a problem?
It's not necessarily a problem, but maybe it creates more options. You know.
How do you mean?
I'm at a
Options like,
stage where I have the limited information as a human, and
as do we all.
from what I've been shown through my senses and through my personal filter, it all leads back to that question: God or no God. And now I don't know if that's because I've been indoctrinated or because of my upbringing. I've been exposed to the idea of God from a young age, but apart from that, there is no real question. That is the ultimate question. Everything else stems from that. That's just my view, and that's where the Quran makes sense to me. Doesn't mean that it overrides.
You said you read it multiple times and it's the only book that made sense for you.
Not the only book that makes sense, but on that level, there's no other book that touches my brain in that way. And I just think, if I was that, why can I
Wait,
not?
so God cussing a man
Have you ever
1,000
tried reading the Quran from the point of view of a non-believer? Like, have you ever opened the Quran and imagined to yourself, okay, let's say I'm a non-Muslim, and then try to read it with that mindset?
I have tried, and it's difficult, but I can see how it just
Yeah,
depends.
because pretty much every other page slags you off.
but then you can't. If you go back to the beginning, the second chapter, when it explains that there are three categories of people. Now I know there's more than three categories of people, but on a spiritual level, I've travelled the world a bit. I haven't I'm not saying I'm the most worldly, but it does tend to boil down to those three generalizations on a spiritual level. Now,
Which are,
sorry? Well, those
what
who
are those
believe,
three spiritual levels, as
those
you
who,
understand it?
those who believe in God, a creator,
Mm-hmm.
those who disbelieve, and then there's the people who are in it to create mischief. Now that could be people in Taliban, ISIS. I don't know. They some of them could be believers as well. Some of them are disbelievers. This is the beauty of it. Not one time have I been able to discuss with people anything without it always leading back to these three big questions: is there a God or not? How do we get here? And why are we here? And it's just everywhere, all day, all night. You can try and ignore these questions, but for me, I've just gone. Maybe people could say you've taken the easy way out to believe in God, but is it really easy to deny myself certain things? Is it really easy for me to have to defend it and to have people judge me and look at me in a different way, you know? But again, I'm past caring what people.
But you pretend like we don't have the answers.
But what answers do we have? Honestly, come on, we don't even know our own arse from our foot. Come on, we think we know. We're so limited in that.
No, you're talking rubbish. What are you talking about? We don't have a purpose. A toaster has a purpose. We are not here as a toaster. We are not here to do something. Where we came from, we know exactly where we came from. What are you on about?
Where did we come from then? Tell me, please, enlighten me. I'd love to know.
From my parents.
Oh, you're doing this one. You're doing this one.
What do you mean I'm doing this one? This is reality. We're not talking about a book. We're talking about reality, where people have sex and then you have children coming from the sex. This is reality. This is the way that it works in the real world.
So what would happen to somebody who's in 20 years when we'd be able to clone people? What would they say? Oh, where did you come from? You came from the sperm bank?
We can clone people now.
We can clone people now.
No, but you get my argument.
The very first successful clone was in 1997. It was Dolly Bashir. We've been able to clone people since the 90s.
But I'm saying, say I was born in 20 years and I appeared on a show like this and we had this discussion and you said, where did we come from? And you said, from that sperm bank down the road. Do you see that it doesn't give a real answer? Where did
it gives a very realistic, reality-based, fact-based answer. Of course it does.
Okay. There's a difference. There's a difference between having an answer that is a real valid answer and an answer that we don't necessarily get fulfillment from. It's like, where did I come from? Oh, well, one night my parents were horny. You know, my dad could have had a wank and I'd never be here.
I think he means consciousness.
Then we can go more than that. We can look at. I can trace my family trait. Then I can look at the evolution of species. Then I can say, well, where did life come from? And then I can say, well, where did this planet come from? Where did this star come from? Solar system, back and back, all the way to the Big Bang. And then what did the universe come from?
Keep going. There you go. There's your answer. Big Bang. God, thank you. Game over.
What? No, wait. What?
What? How?
Wait,
excuse me. Do you think that something can come from nothing?
Yes.
Okay, great. Why?
Because God wills it.
Okay, where does God? Have you ever seen your God will anything other than the universe?
Have you ever seen anything evolve in front of you?
Absolutely.
Yes, I have actually.
I am evolution. I have evolved from my parents. Doesn't matter. Listen, how can you get to the universe? How can you get to the universe from a God? All we have is the observation of the universe. Now, if we go back, we can see that where the universe originated. We cannot answer what comes before that, so you might as well say the universe has always existed because energy has always existed. You can do that. Instead of that, you go and you say, well, I don't believe energy has always existed. I want my God to be there, so I will invent my God who has always existed. Okay. What's the difference?
There isn't any. Because we're here now, but mine makes more sense than yours.
Why does it make more sense?
Well, not really.
You said there's no difference, so how can it make more sense?
Why would they then go on about multiverse and alien theories? Because they're lost. They're following conjecture. They've got no answers, but they want answers. That's why they come on these shows. Because they want answers.
There is more evidence for the multiverse than for a god.
Can I ask what you mean by alien theory?
No. Multiverse is desperation. Desperation, because they know.
Why? Why is it
an argument from ignorance? You don't know what it is, and you say, therefore, God.
No, I think that's one way of looking at it, but it's got to the point where if you go through a scientific, not me personally, I'm not saying I'm a great scientist or I've got extreme knowledge, but I've got understanding. I've looked at these things. I'm aware enough to know I'm not going to be able to write a scientific journal or understand terms and.
So you accept embryology. So you accept embryology and you accept evolution.
Well, of course, it's reality, and embryo exists. Obviously, there's a format and a system it goes through. But the difference is, I believe everything started from a superior intelligence. Just like I was watching an Ancient Alien program the other day. I know it's made for the masses, the ignorant. It talks about the DNA code. Now, you tell me honestly that you sit there. And you don't sometimes think to yourself when there's no one else in the room except you with your cigarette or your spliff or whatever, and you think,
it's a cigarette.
Shit. No, I wasn't implying that. And you think, shit, this is all a bit. Maybe there is something out there. Maybe they're right. Maybe those bloody.
Okay, so you accept that you are a type of an ape, right?
I really will be honest with you. I actually have thought these things in my past. I think particularly when I was particularly when I was a child in school and I was first learning about evolution. When I first began to learn about evolution, that is probably the first time I ever asked myself, oh, maybe there is a God, because just looking at the magnificence of evolution, how we got from the earliest life forms to what we are today, to conscious beings able to look at the stars and wonder and question. It did make me think.
Hello?
And Raven has been
I think that might be a sign from Allah. He doesn't want me to finish.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, I will be honest. It did actually occur to me. Maybe evolution is actually a sign of God, because maybe evolution was guided by God, because the chances that we could become what we are. But that was just when I was a child and when I was first learning about it. The more I learned, the more I realized that, for one thing, evolution isn't chance, and we are what we are. It's also like when you come to world religions. I mean, you're talking about whether or not there could possibly be a God. And with how this microphone is playing about, I'm starting to think maybe there is.
PT and the PT1.
But no, I mean, Michael, I'm sure you're aware that, let's say that you wake up tomorrow and you're no longer a Muslim. You wake up tomorrow, Islam, I don't believe it. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean you'll be an atheist. You could not believe in every single religion ever created. And that doesn't mean that there is no God. It just means if there is a God, we're wrong about it.
Possibly.
But then you got to wonder about what is a God. Then you got to wonder about what is a God. And also, if there is a God, does that actually impact me in any way? I mean, there could be a God. That doesn't necessarily mean that we have a purpose. It doesn't mean there's an afterlife. It doesn't mean that if there is a God, it gives a shit about us one way or another.
Do you realise what you're doing? You're from a Muslim's point of view, from somebody well versed in knowledge and grounded in their faith. What you're doing is basically mixing supposed truth with falsehood. So you.
No. What I'm doing is asking questions. Because maybe there is a God. Why does it then follow that God gives a shit about me?
But stop spamming, saying he has the answers. So why even question when you got all the answers?
I don't have all the answers, mate. It's a cliche, but it's true. The more you learn, the more you realize how little you know. I actually walk about. I live my day under the assumption that I know about this much of what's actually true.
Same here. We don't.
Yeah, but the questions that Michael asked, we have the answers. So there's no way that the questions, the so-called big questions he's asking, that these are so mysterious. They're not.
What do you mean?
Well, you said that these are the big questions. What are we doing? Why are we here? Where did we come from?
They were big questions. They used to be big questions, and they used to be exciting and dramatic and lead to aliens and notions of multiverse and
Yeah, but we're not in the 7th century. We're not in Arabia. We are now in the 21st century. We have learned in the meantime a lot of these things, a lot of the answers that you are asking questions about.
Give me an answer then. I asked you, where did we come from?
I told you.
Well, we come from a chemical makeup of the earth.
Okay, so now you're saying that we're chemicals. Okay, we agree with that. I agree that we're chemicals.
We are chemicals. We match the chemical makeup of the earth. Studies have been done on that. 18
atoms. Yeah, tell me about it. You know, but at the same time, we match the same elements as a rock.
No.
Well, I mean, I think the difference is there is a difference between how we got here and why we got here. How we got here is a valid question. It's a question I'm interested in. But then you ask, why are we here? And my response to that would be, well, how do we know there is a why?
Because once you know the how, through God, there has to be a why. This is why.
No, it's the other way around.
But again, you're assuming there is a God.
Is it? Why? How? Why? See, we're just nitpicking. I think it's funny how people lose their faith and other people come to faith. It depends on how much they want to know and how much they feel, and it doesn't matter what you call your religion.
No, I do want to know. I mean,
Raven, let me just go back to the basics here. Let me just take a step back, because we're getting very deep into something that we never started off on. You came here and you said that the Quran is a book that is unique. We did not start off on the God discussion and all this other stuff.
Okay.
You said that the Quran is this, and this is what made you believe, you personally, it made you believe that there must be a God, because only a God could possibly have come up with something like the Quran. I showed you, no, that is not true. Now you say, well, there's a God anyway, even if he makes mistakes, even if he's incompetent, even if he fails 80% of the time, it doesn't matter, there's a God. Now we're saying, okay, why do you think that there is a God? And you have not come up with an answer. So are we going to go into this, is there a God or not discussion right from the beginning? Or are we going to keep it like fact-based and centered around the Quran?
Silence. Is anyone?
Well, the idea of the Quran being unique, I don't really consider it to be unique at all.
Well, I've demonstrated that, but the thing is, we are talking about the Quran being special, and this was the strongest argument that Michael had, that there was some divine origin to it, and he has not been able to prove it. So I'm asking, should we now go into the spiritual realm and the sense of toasters and humans and purposes and things like that, or should we keep it fact-based and down to the Quran? That is my question. I think Michael has lost his microphone.
When it comes to purpose, I'm always kind of curious about why, particularly Christians and Muslims, actually, it's gone. But I am always kind of curious about with Christians and Muslims why they're so
killing himself laughing how long he's managed to keep this going.
I'm always been curious about why they're so gung ho about the idea that we exist to feed ego.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
Why are they so gung ho about that? What is so great about being created solely to fluff someone's self-opinion?
Exactly.
You know, praise him.
This is the whole point.
Like,
because
seriously, that's the entire purpose. I'm here.
That's what it says in the Quran. In the Quran, it says there is only one reason why you are here. There's only one purpose, and that is to worship this Creator God.
Well, you go back
but only 20% do, so he's failed 80% of the time.
Moses. You go back to the original Moses. You got to worship God. You got to give him all the praise. And who gives him all the praise? Who do you have to channel it through? The priests. And who are the priests? The brother of Moses and all of his descendants. It's the ultimate pyramid trick. You've got to give everything to Moses' descendants through praise and worship of this so-called God. And it just evolved into Christianity, and it just evolved into Islam, and You've got all the other different religions. It's a shame he's gone, because I was going to ask another question. If there's a soul, why do people get dementia? If they have a soul...
Because that's a physical body.
Yeah, but isn't the physical body tied to the soul? How can the soul be corrupted in such a way?
No, the soul isn't corrupted except by will of Allah.
Yeah, I know. There's no answer to it.
And then you're punished.
I've seen people's brains being sliced apart because of the surgery they have on them for removing cancers. And quite honestly, their personality changes because their brain has been damaged.
Yeah.
So there is no soul. It is the brain that does what we do. That is what we are. That is our personality. We only
well,
say
I mean, the soul isn't something. The soul isn't something physical. The body can be corrupted. The body can rot and decay, but the soul can't. The soul is, you know, it's getting in the realms of magic, isn't it?
If the soul can't be corrupted, if the soul can't be changed, then how can the damage to the brain change the personality? I.e.,
because that's the body,
soul.
not the soul.
Yeah, but the soul is something, isn't it? And if the soul never changes, it doesn't matter what you do to the brain, it's always going to be the soul doing the communication. So you wouldn't have Alzheimer's, you wouldn't have possessions. I mean, that's how the old people used to deal with it, didn't they? They used to say someone who had their brain damaged was sort of like, or mentally ill, was possessed. There was no longer their soul that was in command, it was the demon.
You say the old people. I mean, I talk to ex-Muslims my age, and they're actually going through it now. So it's not just the old people.
Yeah, I was just meaning the ancients. They just didn't have a way to understand modern science and what we were. I mean, for goodness sake, the Qur'an says that you have to get your sperm from the middle of your back. How the heck did he come out with that one? Didn't he ever give his wives ever grab his balls and give them a stroke?
Well, I mean, like the whole semen comes from between backbone and ribs. Isn't it basically saying that it's produced by the kidneys?
It's basically coming from something that is mythological. I'm sure some other religion had it and he picked it up from that.
Well, I mean, it's Greek medicine, where they had this theory that it was actually created in the brain. Then it wandered off down, exactly as you're saying, into the ribs, into the kidneys. And from the brain into the kidneys was the way of feeding it into the penis.
So there you go.
I mean, all these scientific miracles you find in the Quran is
Islam.
actually Greek medicine.
No, both of you were talking simultaneously. Nothing could be heard.
I just said, bloody Greeks inventing Islam. What did the Greeks ever do for us?
I think that's the interesting thing. Like when I first read the Quran, I was also up to date on my ancient Greek, mostly just from school. But it was just like, not only is Islam got medicine in it, it's faulty medicine. I mean, the whole thing about like humans coming from a clot of blood, that right there is Aristotle's eggs. You know, when Aristotle was curious about how, because Aristotle knew that he broke an eggshell and it was just white and yellow, like the eggs and the yolk, and he was curious one day. It's like, how the hell does this form an actual living bird? Where do chicks come from? So he did an experiment. He took out a teeny tiny bit of the shell of the egg, and he actually peered into it to watch how it happened and how the mush became a bird. And so, I mean, I'm sure anyone that likes eggs, occasionally you crack open an egg and there's a tiny bit of blood in the yolk.
The black spots.
No, but he actually just watched the inside of the egg. He watched how the bird formed. He saw how lumps of blood formed, and yeah, that was what he wrote about, how it forms from a clot of blood. And then you got the exact same thing in the Quran. We come from a clot of blood.
Yeah, this is the whole thing. And Aristotle was also the guy to say, well, then it's like a wire mesh, and it's like the artist draping the clay around this wire mesh is how the flesh is formed around the skeleton.
Yeah, skeletal formation in ancient Greeks, which again is in the Quran.
My favorite is still, why does the voice break? Because you get balls, and the balls are the counterweights, and when the balls pull down, that's why your cords in your vocal tract get longer, and that's why your voice deepens. That's just the best. Okay, is there anything else? Anybody else has any kind of evidence for the existence of their favorite god?
Oh, I do.
Okay.
Have you ever seen a thunderstorm?
No. What is that?
Oh, it's when clouds roll together and it makes this booming noise, and there's often flashes of light and electricity called lightning.
Yeah, that's the trouble with in Germany, all that smog.
I can't believe you've never seen a thunderstorm before.
No, Pretoria is the area with the most thunderstorms on the planet, which is why, for example, Siemens tests all their equipment there for EMR fitting so that it doesn't get interfered. Because if it works on the Highveld in Johannesburg, it will work anywhere on this planet.
Cool. Anyway, thunderstorms exist. Evidence of fall.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Who else?
God doesn't exist because of the two-slit experiment.
I thought that was Zeus. He was manipulating it.
No, an all-observing, knowing everything God could not allow the two-slit experiment to work because he would always make it come out with the wave pattern.
Shall we go to the Hadith of the week? Oh no, sorry, oh my goodness, I still haven't done my emoticons.
Oh, I did smuggle in the bit about slaves. Brought that into the conversation.
Did you finish the news?
No, that's exactly my point, because I did not finish this, because this is incredibly important.
Stopped you.
Yeah, because Archangel Michael, who was actually, what was his name, David or something, why are some Nigerians so offended by a hug? So what happened? This is not in the south, this is not Abuja, this is in the north, where this actress was seen and caught on camera where she was actually hugging a man. And it turns out that this was not in her capacity as an actress, but that she actually wanted to marry the guy. And now what has happened, she's been banned and she needs to be punished, because here in this photo, she is seen hugging a man. And in Islam, you're not allowed to do that. And that is why Nigerians are offended by a woman hugging a man in public. Who would have known? Okay. Now it's getting, these are the last slides. Now it gets a bit comical, okay? Because a Saudi cleric has come out and said emoticons, you know, these smileys and things like that, are devilish because they represent Christianity. And now what they've done is, let me go to the next one. Oh shit, I need to reload. Why does he reload this? The Tribune now says that angel and devil emojis are forbidden in Islam, because
when I used to belong to CompuServe, there used to be a lot of arguments between the two different groups of computer nerds. Some who would say emoticons are great, and others who say emoticons should be banned from CompuServe.
Well, the point is that they are now getting, because in CompuServe they used to be primitive, okay, but now they are getting quite explicit. And because the Japanese are starting to go into different areas, they now start representing human figures and human faces. And as soon as they start representing, start representing human faces, they are no longer halal.
I used to have an emoticon I made myself. It was a monkey that was doing a dance and then it used to explode.
There you go. These are the things. But because, and they show you, these groups are allowed because they don't represent faces, because these are cats and things like that. But the ones that actually represent faces, in other words, which have two things, it's round, two things which are eyes, and one thing which is the mouth, this represents a face, and those are not allowed. And they are very, very adamant that if you have a shoe, if you have a tree, if you have any, that's cool. But as soon as it represents a face or anything human, it's no longer allowed.
They'll be having Muhammad ones soon.
Yeah, do you know why they do that?
They got Jesus ones, Jesus on crosses.
But do you know why they do that? You can't draw a face.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
Well,
This is a
scare
face.
away the angels.
This to them is a face. I mean, it's not a face. But for them, it's a face, and therefore, there's a fatwa now that says you are not allowed to use them because your God is going to be angry with you if you use these representations of a face, because no angel comes into a house, it does not visit a house where the face of a humanoid is being displayed. There you go. Or where there's a dog. And where an angel doesn't go, well, humans are not allowed to use this. And this is even in Spencer's Jihad Watch. I found this, that the fatwa bans emoticons. This is so funny.
How does Donald Trump get rid of the Muslims? Well, all he has to do is put little shiny faces in the immigration office and the Muslims won't enter.
Yeah, this is absolutely...
It actually reminds me of years ago when there was this Muslim bloke that used to do things that were a bit haram, like have alcohol, and he'd just close the blinds of his window so Allah couldn't see him. And it's like, you know,
this actually happened to us.
It's like nowadays you don't even have to close the blinds; just get an emoji.
Yeah, there you go. Nobody's allowed to look.
No angels will come in; you'll never know.
Okay, are they forbidden, tolerated, or are they simply childish? I don't know. Should we go to the Hadith of the week, or is there anybody that wants to add something last minute in the form of information? Because I can't believe we've gone for so many hours now.
Well, Islamists are right.
I would like to add something. That's okay.
Yeah, Jews.
Yeah, actually, it took a lot of courage of Michael to stay on for as long as he did.
I think he was a troll. Come on.
I also think, but just think about it.
Troll.
I think he's laughing his head off. He's had us all on. He's had us entertained for so long, and this is the main thing. Now,
well, actually,
why
yeah,
I did this
is
for the benefit of others, so others can watch this, and there's a serious side to it, because this is the kind of argumentation you actually do get from apologists, and this is why I went along with it for so long, because there is a benefit to the other people who are watching this, and that's it.
Definitely. But what I would like to say that it's very difficult to hold up to a point that you want to defend if you're arguing with, I don't know, 4 or 5 people who hold a different approach.
This is true, yeah.
And that's very difficult. And it's I can feel it if someone like Michael, even if I don't think he's for real, I wrote it earlier, or at least I don't think somebody could be as naive as he did, as he presented it. But no, that's, I mean, whatever. Just that it takes you some strength to be able to hold your ground in a situation like that.
Just keep a straight face.
Just because, no, I mean, imagine he was for real, just for the sake of argument. Imagine he was for real. It would be very difficult to hold against 5 people, and all of us having in our back of the head the refutation of the argument that he is bringing right on, and that's a very difficult situation to be in. So I hope that we did not discourage any people who have watched that and who actually thought about coming on and defending their faith, or not their faith, but at least justifying their opinion in front of the rational mind.
I understand, but do you think that Matt Dillahunty has ever gone and discouraged Christians from calling in?
He's in a different situation. I'm not sure, because he is broadcasting in a I don't know, 60% Christian audience, maybe even more than.
And that's why people still call in. So I'm hoping that now Muslims
have
courage to bring better arguments.
I'm not sure we have Muslim. I'm not sure that we have sufficient Muslim people who watch the show.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
I mean, this is the only way that we can handle this. I cannot give in to somebody and say, well, if there's a God, this is the Quran, this is the best book ever. No, sorry, I don't do that.
No, true. You can't. It's just that.
And I tried to be nice this time. Come on.
Yeah. You actually, I think it was bearable.
Is that an extinction? Distinction, sorry.
You can be pretty poisonous, you know that.
Yeah, I know.
I was just thinking, when you say he wasn't real, I was thinking about Matt Delahanty and his sort of atheist show. He gets a lot of crank callers going on there, but I don't think they're all fake. I think some of them are actually believers, be they Christian or Muslim.
True.
Maybe he is a Muslim, but
no, I don't think so.
When I asked him about the differences, I actually was very excited that he had called to the show. I wanted to figure out something specific, something that.
Yeah, but he folded immediately.
He dodged the question kind of.
Yeah,
he did do that.
Okay.
I think he was drunk as a skunk as well, to be honest. Unless someone else was burping in the background.
But it doesn't matter. Do people still remember when Klingshaw did this, when this other show started? Because there was a skeptic show and he called in pretending to be a Muslim?
Oh, yes. I remember one of them.
That was exactly this. And he had them fooled, where they actually thought, yeah, he was a Muslim. And then in the end, they realized, oh, no, this is Klingshaw. Because he has a distinctive...
They did. I'm not sure if you're talking about the same show or not. Somebody in the chat realized that was Klingshaw.
Yes, exactly, because of the voice.
Yeah.
But the hosts didn't, and then they went along with it for quite a long time.
Wait, which show was that? Does anybody remember?
It was a skeptic something, because we were on the Gin&Tonic show, and we were discussing that there was a new show opening, and we said, well, let's cut this one short, and then we have one of us, and then Klingshaw said, okay, I'll do it. And then we had the show running while Klingshaw went on the other show to troll them.
Was fun. I remember that.
Okay, so should we go for the Hadith of the week?
Well, so I would just kind of wanted to point out.
Okay.
Has anyone ever read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
Sure.
Is it, when to find a meaning of life? And, you know what, I actually can't remember. Is the meaning of life 42 or 48?
42.
It's 42.
42.
Yeah.
Just imagine if you actually did find the meaning of life and it was 42.
7.
And it's like, that answers absolutely nothing. I mean...
No, it's the perfect answer.
I know, it's like, okay, so we know the meaning of life,
yes.
But what the fuck does that mean?
But this is
so, even if it was a meaning to life, it's not necessarily one that we'd understand. Or maybe it's not one we'd even like. I mean, has anyone ever seen that 1970s sci-fi show, Westwood?
No.
Sorry, Westworld. It's actually just come back on HBO now as a regular series.
Like I said, I thought it was Jill Brynner, but it's something different.
Well, anyway, like Westworld has just come back now on HBO. It was a 70s sci-fi movie. Now it's going to be a HBO TV show. But basically, the idea is that these inventors have built these robots, and they keep programming these robots to be more and more human. And they've put them in this make-believe world.
And you
it's
pay to be the hunter and the cowboy, and you pay a lot of money to go there.
There was the medieval world, and the second film was them replacing various politicians and famous people by these robots to take over the world.
But I mean, that would be a question though. What if you actually did discover the meaning of life? And the meaning of life is you didn't even matter. You were just a plaything of the gods. That they just used you for
that's
fun.
What the Greeks used to think, didn't they? That's why the Greeks used to come in and out of their mythology to interact with the people.
Yeah, but this is the new theory, isn't it? That we are just a holographic enactment inside a game like The Sims.
The Matrix.
Yeah, simulation.
How do you think people would react though if it turned out that
It doesn't make any difference.
Either it was like, the meaning of life is 42, or the meaning of life is we're just playthings.
So what, do you have the power to change it? No, you can't change it. So there's nothing changes.
Do you vote for Trump or do you vote
you might be able to change it. I mean, this is like some of the greatest sci-fi shows are the idea of our playthings sort of gaining sentience and rebelling against us.
Well, that's what Brexit was about. It was rebelling against the system.
You know the movie The 13th Floor?
So in this scenario, Brussels would be Olympus.
It could, whatever. Yes. Do you know the 13th Floor?
The Pantheon, the 5 commissioners.
Where the people find out that they are playthings. This is exactly the point. Where people find out that they are in an artificial world, where the Earth ends at the end of the this wireframe mesh structure that they have constructed.
Well, lots of the cubes like that, isn't it? The conspiracy theory,
exactly.
The outside influence.
Except that here, the 13th floor goes and actually exploits this and shows the consequences of it.
I don't think I've seen it. I've seen a lot of films, but I don't think I've seen that one.
I've always meant to check out the 13th floor, but I've just never got around to it.
It's quite interesting. It's a very nice thought experiment where you go and you take reality of the 20th century, of the 21st century, and then go and see, well, what actually happens? Who are the characters? How come that sometimes you see glitches? Well, they explain it. Okay. Hadith of the week.
Dark Matter actually did this very interesting video where it's this whole idea that if we have a creator, then we're so awesome and we're so smart, so they must be even more awesome and even more smart.
They're not.
But yeah, Dark Matter did this recent video where you actually had this world filled with robots, and then one of the robots sort of realized that his creator was a human being. And he's like, how the hell can that happen? Because I'm so awesome and I'm so smart. So my creator must be even smarter. And then he challenges the human, his creator, and he said, what is the square root of? He gave him some really complex mathematical thing. And his creator was standing there trying to work it out. And the robot just answered it and is like, aha, you can't even do it as quickly as me. You can't do it without a calculator. So why should I believe that you are the creator of me? And it was quite interesting, really. It was one of those thought experiment things.
Exactly.
Yeah, Battlestar Galactica, the new series, one of the very ending conclusions that the Cylons became Cylons because they could no longer believe that humans invented them. But they were superior in every way, they thought. Humans,
but how did it start, the idea that if we have a creator, it has to be smarter than us? Like maybe we're an improvement and we're smarter than them.
You've got somebody like Muhammad, and the type of things he says, like you must drink camel piss to cure yourself. Isn't it an obvious conclusion that his God must be smarter than his prophets?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I remember a year or so ago, Saudi scientists kept on claiming they'd found the cure for cancer in camel piss.
Yeah, they would, wouldn't they?
Can I go to the Hadith of the week now?
No, we're having a competition.
Can I have this is revolting. Can I have the Hadith of the week now? It was narrated that Jabir ibn Allah said, I attended Eid prayer with the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him and over him. He started with a prayer before the khutbah, with no adhan or iqamah. I have no clue what that means. Then he stood up, leaning on Bilal, speaking of fear of Allah and urging us to obey him. He preached to the people and reminded them. Then he went over to the women and preached to them and reminded them. Then he said, give in charity, for you are the majority of the fuel of hell. Now this goes along the lines of what we had last week, where the women are of the hell. A woman with dark cheeks stood up in the midst of the women and said, why is that, O Messenger of Allah? He, peace be upon him, said, because you complain too much, are ungrateful to your husbands. Then they started to give their jewelry in charity, throwing their earrings and rings into Bilal's cloak. The Prophet then mentioned, few of the inhabitants of paradise are women. And Hadith 7, how rare are the women of paradise amongst us. So he seems to have changed his mind. Whilst we were with the Messenger of Allah in his valley on his mountain path, he said, look, can you see anything? He said, we see crows, and one of them stands out because its beak and feet are red. And the Messenger of Allah said, and they forgot the peace and blessings be upon him, no women will enter paradise except those who are as rare among them as this crow is amongst the others. So now he's contradicting himself again. This does not contradict the fact, this is what it says, that every man will have more than one wife in paradise. What is referred to by the majority of women being in hell is from the descendants of Adam. What is referred to by man having more than one wife in paradise is from among the gorgeous Hur al-Ain. So there is no contradiction. There you go. Everything is explained why you have all the women in hell and you can still have so many women in heaven.
Clarence?
Alhamdulillah. Guys, thank you very much. It's been fun talking, chatting. Thank you for your participation and thank you for the display of knowledge here. I'm always very, very happy to have so many people who know so much. Brilliant. Thanks, guys. See you next week.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.